Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The former president of Honduras has been released from a U.S. prison. He'd been convicted of drug trafficking, but was pardoned by President Trump. NPR's Ada Peralta reports this comes as Honduras tries to untangle a presidential election.
Juan Orlando Hernandez was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison last year for trafficking some 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. At the time, the Justice Department said he abused his power to help one of the most powerful drug trafficking conspiracies in the world. Now, after President Trump issued a pardon, he was released from a prison in West Virginia. Honduras is currently in the middle of a tense presidential election. Voters went to the polls on Sunday, citing technical issues. The vote count stopped on Monday. Now, two opposition candidates are in a statistical tie, and the ruling party, which will lose power, denounced U.S. interference in the vote. Ada Peralta, NPR News, Mexico City.
President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are expected to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin today in Moscow. They'll discuss a U.S.-backed peace plan to end the war in Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says he appreciates the work.
We welcome the ongoing efforts led by the United States to make this a reality. And I'm confident that these sustained efforts will eventually restore peace in Europe.
But the Kremlin released a video of Putin speaking to his top brass yesterday. He blamed Ukraine's government for the war. Observers suggest Putin will not support the U.S. peace plan, recently revised with Ukrainian and European input. The nation's public health agency has lost a quarter to a third of its staff this year. The Trump administration is downsizing government agencies. NPR's Ping Huang reports the cuts have left gaps in function at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Programs aimed at preventing cavities, car crashes, drownings, and shootings have halted. Workers who respond to nuclear emergencies or to virus outbreaks that can cause birth defects are gone. Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, a former CDC official who resigned in August, says the agency is in critical condition.
I keep calling CDC like a zombie because it's a zombie.
CDC employees who remain are appalled by statements on measles, vaccines, and autism, which don't reflect the agency's scientific conclusions but have shown up on the website anyway. While former CDC officials say the agency is debilitated, a spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services says the changes are part of sustained reforms focused on returning CDC to its core mission. Ping Huang, NPR News.
The National Weather Service says more than 40 million people are under winter storm warnings or winter weather advisories. There are winter storm warnings posted throughout New England. This is NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren has an op-ed in yesterday's USA Today calling for Education Secretary Linda McMahon to resign. The call follows the Trump administration's announcement earlier this month of an aggressive plan to further dismantle the Education Department. Warren writes, in part, it's official. Donald Trump and Secretary McMahon are dismantling the Department of Education one piece at a time. This is, in Secretary McMahon's words, the department goes on to say that Linda McMahon has no business leading the Department of Education. She should resign. No word from McMahon or the Trump administration. And thanks to a $100 million award from the MacArthur Foundation's 100 and Change competition, the Sentinel, a project based at Harvard and MIT's Broad Institute, can continue its work despite cuts from the Trump administration. The Crimson reports the money will help track the spread of pathogens in Africa and prevent future infectious disease outbreaks. In sports, the Bruins are in Detroit for a game against the Red Wings tonight. The Celtics host the Knicks on the parquet at the Garden. And after last night's drubbing of the Giants, the Patriots have a much-earned bye week. They're looking good. In the forecast, folks north and west of Boston should gas up the shovel in anticipation of the first snowfall of the season. They may get several inches. Boston will see some flurries. Otherwise, we're just looking at sleet and freezing rain right now, high in the upper 30s. Mostly sunny tomorrow, upper 30s as well. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio and seeks to help NPR produce programming that meets the highest standards of public service in journalism and cultural expression.
He is Jim Browdy. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM and live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. At noon, we're going to be joined by Keith Lockhart, famed conductor of the Boston Pops. At 12:30, actor Ethan Hawke will zoom in to tell us about his new movie and a bunch of other things. And Jim, who's dealing with COVID, is bravely forging ahead and broadcasting once again from his boudoir in Cambridge, which is oddly painted red, but I didn't realize until today that Jim is apparently inspired by Melanie Rose. She's got the famous show on Netflix about how to build a sex room, Jim. And the first thing you do is paint it red. People can see the picture up there of Melanie Rose and the sex room. Are you in mid-construction, or what's the story?
Can you hold 1 second? 1 second. Melanie, could you put milk and sugar in the coffee and bring it up right away? So I'm on the air.
Oh,
thanks.
I thought so. That's great, Jim. Good luck.
Good. Yeah. She doesn't want to talk to you, but how are you, Marjorie?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're feeling better.
I'm doing better, yeah. I'm getting there. Thank you very much. So congratulations. You made it past. Let me go down the list. Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Henry Santoro's favorite holiday, Cyber Monday, which leads us with what arguably is the most important of those days, if you have anything left, Giving Tuesday, which is today. Last year, 36.1 million U.S. adults participated in Giving Tuesday, with donations totaling $3.5 billion, according to estimates from Giving Tuesday Data Commons, whatever that is. Are you among those who using the day to give back to nonprofits, organizations that do good? If you have a lot to give, or a little, we want to know how you approach this day. Maybe you donate your time. One would argue your most valuable asset. Maybe you give money, or maybe you do neither because you just can't afford to do them right now. And of course, there is Marjorie's side question raised this morning on our staff meeting. Do you only donate to good causes so you don't have to show up to your tax preparer with your tail between your legs, ashamed of your lack of generosity? The number is 877-301-8970. That is our number.
Well, you know why I remember that, Jim? Because politicians always get nailed on this with their charitable donations. We know that Mr. Trump defrauded his charity and had to pay a massive fine for that and can't be involved in any charities because of his stealing from his charity. But other politicians, at election time, you find out they give 2%, 3%. Mitt Romney was one of the only people that gave 10% of his income to charity. And so you think about that when you go to your tax preparer. You don't want to be you don't want to be somebody who gives like 0.002% of your income, Jim. It's very terrible.
So what do you do on Giving Tuesday?
Well, they make it easy for you.
She's nervous, I can tell.
No, you get so many texts from places that are worthwhile organizations. It makes it easy. You just text back and you give them some money, and you don't get the write-offs you used to on your taxes, but you still get some. You're the tax guy. I don't really understand the way it works.
Well, I'm going to give you, by the way, you started something which is so typical. Anonymous texter, does the sex room have a shot put? First of all, it's not a sex room, and it does not have a shot
There's a sex room. Doesn't it look just like your room, Jim? Yours is just a darker color red. You didn't get the color exactly right.
Okay, thank you. This is really not helpful, not grown up. It's not anything useful on your part or your colleagues.
Okay, we don't give a crap.
Okay, well, apparently people do.
No, who knew you were building a sex room?
Okay, now fine. Now, as Marjorie was saying, she doesn't know anything about the tax thing. Let me tell you what the tax situation is. One, in the state, there's a proposal. I don't know what the status of this is. Maybe our colleagues can check. Filed by Maura Healey for financial reasons that I think tightens up the ability to make charitable deductions on your tax returns. Two, while the primary beneficiaries of charitable giving obviously are the wealthy, that's also been tightened a little bit by Trump. One thing he did do is, I'm not going to give people a headache with this, he created this $1,000 new deduction for single people, $2,000 for joint filers. Even if you were filing it, I'm not going to give you a headache. It's a limited benefit, and there's real question as to whether or not that's going to spur new giving or it's just going to reward giving you would have done anyway. So I don't want to get into the tax stuff unless people are dying to do. No, do you take this seriously? Do you donate money? Do you donate time? And if you do, there's a great quote. You probably knew this quote before because you're a big fan of hers. Maya Angelou said, "Giving liberates the soul of the giver."
Yeah.
Which I really love. And I have to say, I know you're going to mock me when I say this.
No.
No. Giving really, well, you're into this kind of thing. Giving
I'm not. I'm not nearly as generous as I should be.
Well, you're pretty generous.
Yeah.
Giving does make you feel good. So it's not only a good act, a selfless act for other people and organizations, it's also really good for your own mental health.
Well, yeah, they talk about, they were talking in the piece about Catholic Charities. Kelly Tuthill runs that now, talking about psychologically it's very good for you. But there's all these, when you go to the self-help shelves in the library, I spend a lot of time there, constant effort and improvement. Yeah. And one of the big things, everybody's got these gratitude books, you're supposed to write down what you're grateful for. You're supposed to talk about, think about the things in life that you are grateful for. And apparently, gratefulness is one of the things that really motivates people to do good things.
What does that mean? I don't know. What does
well,
that
they're
mean,
very grateful for what they've been given in life,
or
what they've achieved in life, or they're grateful for their new relationship or their new home or getting into college or whatever it is. They're grateful for things that have happened in life, and so it motivates them to give back. And they also talk about it really as giving you, that volunteering and giving and generosity gives you meaning and purpose to your life, Jim.
That's correct.
Are you searching for meaning and purpose?
I am. Well, actually, I find meaning and purpose in my sex room out here in Memphis. First of all, it's not a sex room. It's really... It's my little pathetic little office.
It's a big
with crap
show
piled up to the
on Netflix. Did you know about this?
No, I really don't. I don't. Not only do I not know about it, I don't want to know about it.
Okay, 877-301-8970. How are you reacting to Giving Tuesday? We've had, as Jim was talking about, a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, and now it's Giving Tuesday. And where are you with this? Are you just no more money left after what you've had to spend for Christmas or whatever? 877-301-8970 is the number. What are you doing for Giving Tuesday, Jim?
I do what you do, which is it's a cheap thing. Excuse me. I would argue that it's much more important, if you really care about this kind of thing, to give of your time, which I don't do very generously. I do write checks, and it's sort of, I do it half out of guilt, half out of hoping that it demonstrates that I do care about the plight of other people have who are less fortunate than I am. But if you really want to show you care, don't you think you give it your time? I mean, that's really that's the true barometer of this kind of thing.
That is the true barometer. And it isn't exactly giving, but in one of these stories they talk about sending greeting cards to family and old friends, something that I haven't done for a long time.
That's not giving.
But they talk about how people are hesitant often to reach out to old friends that they haven't spoken to. Maybe that you were friends with people when your kids were in their kindergarten or something like that. You haven't talked to them in years. But it says people hearing from old friends apparently is a really positive experience. So that's a way of giving too, is taking the time to send out those giving those. No, it's not. It's not?
I mean, it's not in the spirit of Giving Tuesday. I mean, how the hell? What does that have to do with?
Because it's giving to other. It's a generous thing. You buy the cards, you give it to somebody else, and they get those cards for Christmas.
So you're basically saying if at the end of the show I send you an email, I've sort of covered I've missed you. I haven't seen you since last Friday.
No, it's when you send out pictures of the family or pictures of the children.
Really?
Well, this is according to the...
That is a cheap excuse. Who says that?
It is in the Why Doing Good Also Makes Us Feel Good During the Holidays by the Boston Globe, Jim.
Before we get to the calls, okay, fine. So let me, do you remember my favorite story, since you, of course, mentioned Trump as a sort of grifter when it comes to charitable contributions?
It's so bad. They banned them from running charities.
Remember he had that alternative
stealing
event
from his own charity.
When he was running the first time about doing some veterans things. I can't remember what was an alternative. Of course, he never gave that money. But my favorite thing, and I don't remember exactly, he used some charitable money that one of his foundations had gotten. Didn't need to buy a life-size portrait of himself.
Yeah, in a tennis sweater.
For like $25,000 or some incredible thing.
One of his clubs. It's pretty bad when you get shut down from running a charity because you're stolen from it so many times. Anyway, Graham in Amesbury, thank you for calling.
Hi, Graham.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Long time, couple time.
Good.
Thank you.
So I run a small nonprofit up here in Amesbury called Lowell's Boat Shop, and it's a tough time of year. I've got a dozen emails in my inbox today for Giving Tuesday, Instagram posts, the whole thing, and it's just a tough time of year when you're asking people with an annual fund letter. You're asking on Giving Tuesday. We have a big open house this weekend. We're asking for donations for a silent auction.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a lot. And you don't know what to do on Giving Tuesday to motivate people to give. And we've never really seen any traction from it. And it seems to be, from my perspective, something that we need to do to show that we're actually trying to fundraise. But it doesn't seem to actually produce much.
What do you do in your operation?
We are the oldest boat shop in America. So
Wow.
we're a National Historic Landmark, and we still build boats. So right now I'm looking at a 38-foot gig that I'm building for an organization in Maine. And we teach youth boat building, and
That's great.
we're a museum, a historic museum.
What's your website if people want to check it out?
So lowellsboatshop.org, and we have a big open house this weekend. Everyone's welcome to come.
You know
Great.
what? Our
Yeah,
staff.
it's a tough fundraising ask, I just find, this time of year. You know, you're getting hit from so many different
Yeah.
directions, and it's just you overwhelm people. And we've tossed around the idea of trying to send an annual fund letter in like May when everybody else isn't doing it. But it just seems this is the giving time of year.
You know, Graham, Zoe on our staff just looked you guys up. Lowell's Boat Shop is a National Historic Landmark, 459 Main Street in Amesbury, built in 1793
It's
by
beautiful,
Simeon
yeah.
Lowell and added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. What a beautiful place.
It really is.
Yeah, we love you guys here.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. We really appreciate
But
it.
Graham, you are not alone, because our colleague Liz Nischloss did a piece for GBH News talking about giving a lot of local nonprofits are seeing a drop in donations. She talked to a person that's involved with something called Heal the Hood in Jamaica Plain, and helps people with housing and food assistance. They've seen a big time decline. $15,000 received in individual donations this year, less than the year before, and he thinks it has to do with the rising cost of living. People don't
Hey,
have the
thank you
money.
for your call, and good luck with your organization. Anonymous texter says, I love Jim on wheels on that TV screen. Maybe if Marjorie wants to get a word in edgewise, she can just push the TV off the stage. You're not
Yeah.
the first person to recommend this.
That's
Let
been
me
a,
read.
that's been a theme. That and the sex room have been a theme all morning long, Jim.
No, well, actually, the sex room is not a theme with anyone except you, actually. But Kelly in Kingston, I'm the executive director of a small, it's a text, obviously, small nonprofit. We literally depend upon the generosity of ordinary people. Well, it's nice that Giving Tuesday has created a formal invitation to people to give. It'd be really nice if the tax code went back to recognizing smaller donations. We get many $5, $20, and they are every bit as important as the $50,000 donation, but now it's only the big donors that get a tax break. Kelly, maybe it doesn't go into effect next year, but in that big, beautiful bill, which has very few things that are beautiful, my understanding is it does make it easier for average, ordinary people who make small donations to qualify for a tax deduction. As I said, up to $1,000 for individuals,
But it's not till
$2,000 for
next
families.
year.
I don't think
so
it is till next year.
doesn't do you any good right now.
Yeah,
It
but
is-
going forward, that is one
going
decent
forward,
thing
it is
there.
one
yeah.
decent part of the bill. That's absolutely true. By the way, Maddie is the one that came up with the picture of Melanie Rose in the sex room.
Well, I'm
Jim.
sure she was encouraged by you, as much fond as I am of
Okay.
Maddie.
Christine
877-301-8970. I'm sorry, Marjorie.
Christine from Boston, thank you for calling.
Hi.
Hi. I listen
Hi.
to you guys frequently. I've called from time to time,
Thank
and
you.
Thanks.
wanted to comment on your Giving Tuesday ideas. You asked about time versus money, and I think it's important to give both, especially as you get more further along in your career and you have the opportunity to have a little bit more of both. I personally am involved in fundraising for my college, and I know you both have connections to Smith, and that's where I went, so thank you for anything you might do there.
Yep.
And then there's Horizons for Homeless Children, which is a wonderful
Fabulous.
organization based right here in Boston. Trini Casey hosts our annual breakfast every year.
Yeah,
Next
we've talked
year, you
about
can
it.
both come
It's
as my
great.
guest if you'd like
That's
to come.
fabulous. That's fabulous.
Yeah, that's an offshoot of Bright Horizons. Bright Horizons started it many years ago. The
long,
great
long
daycare.
time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, what does
And it
giving do for you? Why do you do it?
makes me happy.
This call will be recorded.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
I I have
can
no
record us.
idea
We
where
don't
that
care.
came from.
That's okay.
fine.
But it does
No,
make
it's
you
no
happy.
longer being recorded. I have no idea what that's about.
It makes you
okay.
happy.
and it's it's part of our responsibility as members of a community, as people who have been perhaps more fortunate than some other folks in the community. It's both a responsibility and a joy.
Well, thank you for your call, and thanks for what
That
you're
was a
doing.
lovely call.
Also, obviously, its importance, it goes without saying, but we should have said it anyway, goes without saying, so many nonprofits, including many which have been on this show, have suffered a significant loss of funding because of some of the Trumpian policies from Washington. So the need is arguably greater than it's ever been,
And this same Globe story that you criticized before, Jim, it says that nearly all cultures have these opportunities where they talk about gratitude and expressing gratitude in terms of giving back to others. They talk about it in Hinduism, Diwali, time of lights and festivities. For Muslims, it's Ramadan, Buddhist traditions. So they talk about different religions and different cultures all have these giving back opportunities that they emphasize. Let's go.
Can I read what Stephen said before you go to the next call? Because I can appreciate this. He's in Rhode Island. He says, I used to enjoy giving to a few select charities, but after a while your name just gets passed around, and now my mailbox is full every day with solicitations from every kind of organization you can imagine. Made me sour on the whole deal. I would argue, don't sour on the whole deal. Focus on the organizations that do the things that you care most about, and ignore the emails if you don't need them. But don't let the fact that there are a lot of organizations in need cause you to decide I'm not going to do anything.
But you have to be sort of ruthless about it. You have to decide which ones you're going to give to and which ones
but they're not coming to your door, knocking on your door. You don't have to be rude to them.
But
You
there
just
are
ignore
so many,
the email.
But there are so many good causes. I get letters all the time. There's so many good causes. You have to decide which ones. I mean, you obviously can't support them all, so you got to make.
Can I ask a question? I should have asked you this off air, but since I thought of it just now, is it appropriate to make a pitch for a specific nonprofit right here on the air? Is that okay? I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Go to jimsexroom.org. jimsexroom.org. And I can't promise you a tax deduction, but I can promise you a really good time. You are out of your mind, by the way.
This is another texture. Well, I mean, everyone can see this oddly colored room there.
It's not oddly colored. It's red with white trim.
That's right. And this big hit show on Netflix, Melanie Rose, she's got the thing. That's the first thing you do, Jim, is you paint the bedroom red, and great things happen. Somebody else is going to give to the Jim Browdy Dickies Fund for the young, because we all know Jim likes to wear Dickies. Ron in Seabrook, thank you for calling.
Hello, Ron.
Hi, I hoped I could make a pitch for a specific charitable organization.
Sure.
It's the Lighthouse Thrift Store in Salisbury, Massachusetts. I volunteer there. There's a million great reasons to volunteer your time for such a thing. Mostly you're getting to spend some time with like-minded people, and that organization turns people's unwanted items into cash, and they make very important donations to a variety of organizations.
What's the thing called again?
Yeah, say it again, Ron.
It's called Lighthouse Thrift Store.
Great. Good for you.
It's in Massachusetts.
We appreciate
Ron,
that.
thank you. That was a good one. We have a couple of people who are talking about the Red Cross. Mark in Cohasset, an anonymous texter. Mark says he donates platelets. Over 120 times he's donated. And he said he can't give cash because he doesn't have any money, but he can give blood.
That's
Another
great.
anonymous texter says that they regularly donate platelets platelets, that's how I say it, I think at the Red Cross.
Platelets, yeah.
Doing so makes me feel my life is worthwhile. I encourage everyone to donate whole
great.
blood or platelets as often as they can. You make a real difference, feel good about yourself, and this is more important than a once a year themed Giving Day.
Can I read? Bill from Chelmsford wrote a really thoughtful text. I think Giving Tuesday should be the week before Black Friday.
That's a great point.
I'm tapped out by today, but I do have a suggestion. Reach out to a teacher with a gift card to a bookstore or Staples or even, dare I say, Amazon. Many teachers spend from their own pockets to enhance the learning experience of their students. They can really use the help. That's great.
Yep, that's a good one. Bill, thank you. Woody in Arlington, thank you for calling.
Only have a minute, Woody.
Good morning.
Hi.
Woody Geisman. I'm the president
Woody.
of a nonprofit. Yes. I'm the president of a nonprofit. It's a musical production. You can find it at rockbottom.band. And it's a musical about addiction that will hopefully be launched by in 2026.
Woody, you should be two things. The connection.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The connection's horrible. Stay on hold, and we'll continue this, hopefully with a better connection right after the break, Woody.
Okay, we are taking a quick break. We're going to keep talking about Giving Tuesday for a few more minutes. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, broadcasting live from his under construction sex
No, it's
room.
not enough. It's not.
You're listening to BPR.
So I do a little work in this office.
On GBH 90 p.m.
Not much, actually.
Live from the Boston
No shot
Public
puts,
Library.
nothing. No,
Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Stand By Me, the film that sent 4 boys down the railroad tracks and straight into movie history, is turning 40. Star Jerry O'Connell joins us to revisit the summer he spent playing Vern, why the film still endures, and what it's been like to reunite with his castmates for the Stand By Me tour, which arrives in Lynn later this week. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Burton's Grill and Bar, featuring a scratch kitchen where each dish is customizable for those with food allergies or restrictions. A gluten-free menu is also available. Details on their allergy protocols at burtonsgrill.com. And Rogers Fish Company, offering an array of holiday seafood gifts and gift cards. Their signature double clam chowder is also available for purchase at Market Basket. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. Marjorie's at the library, and I am home. Let's put it that way. I'm home. I have COVID. I'm home. Let's move on.
Very red
Streaming.
room.
Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Keith Lockhart joins us at noon ahead of this incredible number of wonderful holiday concerts, and at 12:30 actor Ethan Hawke is going to be honored at the Coolidge tomorrow, is going to join us on Zoom as well. If you're just tuning in, it's Giving Tuesday. We're talking about whether you're participating with donations of money, donations of time. Can you afford them? If you do give, why do you give and to whom? 877-301-8970. You want to go back to Woody and see if we have better connection?
Yeah, hi, Woody. Try
Hey,
again.
Woody.
Hi,
Tell
guys.
us again.
Much better.
Long-time listener, Woody Geisman.
Thank you.
Thank you for the topic today, and I'm sorry about COVID, Jen.
Thanks. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, so I've been working on this musical called Rock Bottom since the pandemic. My writing partners are, everyone knows and loves Tony V, the legendary comedian.
We love Tony, yeah.
And also my dear friend Simon Kirk, of a very talented musician from Bad Company. And, you know, the premise is that it's kind of a Shakespearean theme about addiction. It's a love story, it's a comedy, it's a tragedy, and the soundtrack we're looking to complete the soundtrack for this. You know, it's a beautiful soundtrack that you know, we would appreciate anyone's support who is possibly you know, drawn towards supporting recovery. As you know, I've been in recovery for over 3 decades, and
Hey, Woody, before you go ahead, Woody, you mentioned a very talented musician partner from Bad Company. You should tell people about what you did when you were younger as a very talented musician, because people may recognize your name.
You're flattering me. So
no, it's true.
Yes,
I was a big fan.
A member of thank you. I was a member of the band called the Del Fuegos from Boston.
Yes.
And we toured with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, who I miss dearly. The Kinks, ZZ Top. We had some wonderful experiences, But now that I've been in recovery for 35 years and I'm a licensed therapist in Arlington, Massachusetts, I've been working on the rock opera since the pandemic with Simon and Tony, and we're near completion of the script and the soundtrack. Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith performs on it.
Wow.
Is there a website? Hey, Woody, is there a website for this?
Yes, rockbottom.band. BAND.
Rockbottom.band.
Yeah.
Hey, Woody,
Hey, Woody.
we still owe you time on your fabulous book. We'll get back to you. And, Woody, it's great to hear from you. Good luck with the project. It's very exciting. Rockbottom.band.
Keep up the good work and feel better, my friend.
You're a good soul. Thank you, Woody. Appreciate it. 877-301-8970 is the number.
A texter is making a large contribution today to the Human Fund in honor of Jim Browdy.
I don't even get that, but thank you very much.
Well, it's expand your humanity kind of thing. I think that's what he's thinking about. Yeah. And anonymous texter recommends giving as much as you can to GBH and BPR, so I can get the credit here. And by the way, we did have a tough year ourselves because we got our national funding taken away, and we've had to have a lot of layoffs, which is really not what you want. You feel very bad about that. Mickey from Harvard, thank you for calling.
Hello, Mickey.
Hi. I was just thinking, I just saw your, sorry, I'm turning off my radio. I just saw you guys, heard you on the radio about places that you can, how you can help people, and I was just thinking about the Friendship Project through Advocate, where people can come and volunteer to hang out with individuals that are lonely, and I work with a lady who teaches me how to do watercolorings and things like that.
What's it called again? I'm sorry, I missed that at the beginning.
Oh, sorry. It's so it's through Advocates Inc., and it's called the Friendship Project.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know anything about it. I'm going to check it out right after the show. It sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We appreciate it.
We have a few suggestions. The Globe Santa. You may read about those stories in the paper. They talk about the families that their contributions will go to. They're really heartwarming stories. Somebody else says there's a short documentary on the Lowell Boat Shop. The gentleman that called before saying they were trying to get.
Really?
Yeah, they're on the historic register. So there's a documentary. A lot of people say the ACLU to fight for justice and to La Collaborativa in Chelsea. I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. But it is a great grassroots organization over there in Chelsea that helped a lot during the pandemic. Collaborativa, thank you very much. I mispronounced that. Collaborativa in Chelsea. I'm looking for some more suggestions, Jim, so you can keep going.
So I can keep going?
Yeah.
Well, it's just it's give what you can. This is like a really important day in a particularly difficult time, as I say, because if you listen to the show regularly, there's not a couple of days that passes that we don't have a nonprofit on the show that hasn't lost significant funding as a result of decisions made by the Trump administration. So Giving Tuesday has always, by the way, it's only been around, we should have said this at the beginning, it's only been around for 14 years. And you know where it started,
the
Marjorie?
Y in New York City.
No, the 92nd Street Y, which is one of the great places in New York. It's legendary. They started the concept just 14 years ago. It has grown exponentially, and it's a good opportunity. And again, if you can't give money, give your time. And if you can't give your time, then people who can give money or time should do a little extra, with the understanding that those people who are having a tough time will make up for it next year.
Jim, listen to this one. When we were kids, when our kids were young, we always took the fourth night of Hanukkah as charity night. The kids didn't get a gift and decided where to donate that night's gift. That's from Diane in Great Barrington. So that's
great.
That's kind of neat.
It's coming up, too. That's great.
Okay, coming up after this quick break, we're going to talk to CNN's chief national correspondent, John King. We're going to talk to you about this growing controversy over orders to killed 2 people clinging to a boat in the Caribbean after it had been hit by a missile, and people there killed. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR and GBH at 8 p.m. live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. CNN's chief national correspondent John King is next.
As cities grow, they often run into problems like pollution and lack of infrastructure, but city planners in Shenzhen, China, hired architects to address those things before they even happened.
They encourage the clients to have the courage to confront the future and ask questions how things could be done differently.
Hear that story next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Minus 33 Merino Wool in Ashland, New Hampshire. Since 1916, makers of all-natural merino wool underwear, outerwear, and New Hampshire-made socks. Their merino wool clothing and accessories are available at minus33.com. And American Repertory Theater with Wonder, a new musical for the whole family based on the best-selling book and beloved movie. This holiday season, Wonder celebrates the power of kindness. amrep.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. Half of us are at the Boston Public Library. Half of us are home with COVID, and we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. At noon, Keith Lockhart joins us ahead of this incredibly wonderful holiday concerts at the Pops that are going to start later this week. And at 12:30, Ethan Hawke, who's getting a big award from the Coolidge tomorrow, is going to zoom in. Right now, zooming in, though, is CNN's chief national correspondent, our buddy John King. Hey, John.
Jim, I hope you're feeling all right.
I'm doing
Happy
better,
Tuesday.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't think we can see John. He's maybe because
I see him.
Jim
he looks
is,
lovely.
Oh,
by
there
the
he
way.
is. There he is. I thought it was because Jim was taking up the whole screen there, John, in his red room.
I'm home during the day today because I'll be counting votes in the Tennessee special election tonight.
Oh,
yeah, we want to get to that.
Yeah. Well, as long as you mentioned it, tell us why this Tennessee special election is such a big deal.
Well, it's an overwhelmingly Republican district. Trump carried it by 22 points just a year ago. It's in a red state. It's in a state that, it once gave us Al Gore and once actually gave us a more centrist Republican like Lamar Alexander, but has moved very to the right, very Trumpy. And so, if the Democrats win this seat, that's an earthquake. The Democrats I've talked to down there don't expect to win the seat, but we'll see what happens when we count votes. But they think it might be a lot closer than it's quote unquote supposed to be, and they think that's a sign of anti-Trump sentiment, frustration with the economy, frustration with Washington, and based on what we just saw in Virginia, New Jersey, Georgia, Pennsylvania, the other 2025 elections a month ago. Evidence that the Democrats have momentum heading into the premier. We'll see. We'll count the votes, but the margin is probably what everyone's going to be talking about unless there's an earthquake.
I read where the Democrat is running. It doesn't seem like this is a good idea to say how much she doesn't like country music when she's in Nashville, and that prayer makes her very uncomfortable. I don't know. That may be a problem, do you think?
The Republicans have been trying to say that she's way too progressive, way too left, way too out there, not one of us. That same kind of campaign we had run, the language of the Republican campaigns is pretty typical. But you have a pro-Trump, but a guy who has served in Republican politics in the state for a long time. So sort of a not central casting is probably, it sounds pejorative. I don't mean it that way. But you have a Republican candidate, probably not the most exciting guy in the world, but who should win this seat easily. So if you have a Democrat who, yes, it's like saying, I'm announcing my candidacy for governor of Massachusetts, and I think Drake May is horrible.
John, I have one last question about this. Last night on your station, I saw a video of the Speaker of the House of Representatives standing next to the Republican candidate for this office. And I'm saying to myself, who is the voter in this district who's going to say, I wasn't going to vote for the Republican, but because Mike Johnson from a wildly unpopular Congress is coming down to Tennessee, now he's got my vote. Is there that voter?
You make an excellent point. And even take Republican and Mike Johnson out of it. People have been frustrated with Washington for a long time, which is why we've seen the swing in our politics back and forth and back and forth. But you're absolutely right. And again, Trump has a good relationship with Johnson, but Trump has spent the last 10, 12 years of Donald Trump's presence in our center stage politics of beating up on Washington, beating up on the establishment. He does have a better relationship with Johnson than he's had with past Republican speakers. But, look, Johnson's trying to do everything he can, Jim. He can only afford to lose 2 votes. Think about this. He can only afford to lose 2 votes to pass anything, right? To pass a resolution that says Tuesday comes after Monday, Mike Johnson cannot afford to lose 2 votes. So what if they have to do actual hard stuff, right? And they do have to do hard stuff. There's a prospect of at least a partial government shutdown right on the horizon again, because they keep doing these temporary, short-term spending bills. So he's trying to do everything he can. I think that's the event where he held up the phone and Trump called in a little bit and said, get out there. But as I'll give you this example of why we're going to pay attention tonight. Normally, we wouldn't even be paying attention to this race. But in the late polls in New Jersey, for example, Mikey Sherrill was up 4 or 5 points. We expected the Democrat was going to eke it out. She won by 15. Yeah. Right? Test. Is there something in the water that we can't see? Some anti-Washington, anti-Trump, anti-Republican sentiment. That's why we're going to watch tonight. But look, John, I get your point. Why would Johnson is showing up actually counterproductive? But we'll find out.
Staying on this theme for a second about how Trump is affecting, or Trumpism is affecting local races. We're going to do this later too, but let's get to it now. We've spoken to you about your trip to Pennsylvania. And here's a little sound from this guy, Ronald Corrales, a Pennsylvania barbershop owner. He spoke to John about the affordability issue. He's a 3-time Trump voter. Here he is.
I think we still got to give it some time. The country really shifted in the past couple of years. So his policies hopefully takes an effect soon and we'll start seeing it.
John, my takeaway from the reporting you did there is that the Trump voters, while they were disappointed, they were more forgiving than I thought they would be. Is that a fair characterization? They hadn't decided to dump the guy, even though he had not honored the commitments he had made to his voters.
You vote for somebody 3 times, and he is such a polarizing figure, and every day there's a fight about Trump, and it affects your relationship, it affects your co-work, the conversation with your coworkers. So they tend to stay in their ring, if you will, stay in their camp, Jim. And Trump is very good at constantly picking fights so that his voters think, I got to stay with him. I'm frustrated with this, that, and the other thing, but I got to stay with him. We're in a battle right now. However, when Trump is not on the ballot, and Trump will not be on the ballot next year, that is a battleground congressional district that Trump helped the Republican over the finish line. They took that seat away from a Democrat. There's another district right next to it where they took a seat away from a Democrat. In Pennsylvania, where I was, it was 4,000 votes, right? So imagine if that guy, Ronald, doesn't vote. He's a Republican. He's named Ronald after Ronald Reagan. His parents came from Peru back in the Reagan years. And that's why they were proud to come to America. They were proud immigrants, and they named their son after the president at the time. And he's been a Republican ever since. But what if he doesn't vote? Or what if he decides, I'm going to vote the other way for Congress? But the most interesting part was we stood around a table in his barbershop with a half dozen of the employees. And every single one of them, they're from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Puerto Rico, from other places, all immigrants, and all from immigrant families, not one of them said their life was better off today than it was when Donald Trump won the election. Not one. Now, they're not all blaming him. They're not all anti-Trump. But what do you do? If that's your mood, your life is harder. Your family budget is harder. Your struggle is harder. If you either don't vote, which if you're a Republican, that's a vote for the Democrats, essentially. It's subtraction if they're a Republican, or you vote for change. It's just, this is not, I try to overcomplicate this so my bosses pay me, but this is not that hard sometimes. What kind of mood are you in? If you voted today with COVID, you're grumpy. You're probably going to vote against the incumbent just because you're grumpy. We overcomplicate these things sometimes, but these paycheck to paycheck families, the kings I grew up with, the families I grew up with on King Street in Dorchester, Massachusetts, they look at this town I work in, Washington, and they say, you people have checked out on us. You're not doing anything to help me. And so if you get a chance, you hit them. They're a piñata, and you got to stick. And that's what looms for Republicans unless they figure this out quickly.
We're talking to John King.
You mentioned that the gentleman you talked to, the barbershop owner, came here from Peru in Ronald Reagan's presidency. And obviously that means he immigrated here. My sense from just what I've seen is that a lot of the Hispanic community, Latino community looks at what is going on. We just had a 7-year-old out of Winooski, Vermont, detained and taken with mother to Texas, a 7-year-old kid detained by ICE. I would think that would, I don't know, I put myself in someone's shoes who just came here 20 years ago, think that could be me or my child.
You're making a very important point, because a lot of those same voters do want the border closed. They do want an actual process to come into the country as a guest worker, or an education visa or whatever. But a lot of them tell you that Trump has gone too far. That they voted for him, and it's one of those things about don't take him literally. But this is when they see those pictures, it's very hard. Even let's take if you're somebody like Raul Corrales, who says we need to secure the border, we need to have an actual process. I want immigration, but I want legal immigration. We need workers, whether they're high-tech workers or medical workers or people who work in the service industry or the farms. We need them. Let's have a system. Perfectly logical. You can agree or disagree with somebody's politics, but that argument makes sense. But they can't walk into work when everyone's holding up their phone and showing the pictures of the incidents you're talking about and say, I'm for Trump. Because a lot of the workers say that's just mean. It's mean and it's cruel. And the idea with the masks and not identifying who you are or where you're taking people, is that the America? Is that America? I come back to this. We overcomplicate things sometimes. It's like, so to Jim's point, if you're mad, you're going to vote for change. If you're unhappy, if your family finances are stressed, you're going to vote for change. There's also this idea, as a parent, like, who are we? Right? What do we want our children to be? Do we want our children to think a white van that pulls up and a bunch of guys jump out, nobody identifies themselves, and they grab people and they throw them in a van? Is that who you want to be? Some people are answering yes as I say this. I don't know about your audience, but some people out there in the country are answering yes as I say this. Fine, then vote the way you're going to voting. But I think a lot of people are saying, I wanted the secure border. I thought Trump would do a better job than Harris on that, but this is a bridge way too far.
What I don't understand, though, because you do see he's starting to lose people on immigration. To Trump's credit, he has essentially closed the border. People aren't coming over across the border. So why, besides Stephen Miller, who seems to be rabid on the subject, why not just declare victory? I mean, why does he have to keep going into schools or going into, nabbing people? We had a young woman here from 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, Babson College. She's going home for Thanksgiving. She gets nabbed. They put her in shackles and handcuffs and send her to Honduras, where she hasn't been since she was 7 years old. I don't think that this is, in the long run, going to help him, except for the meanest part of his base.
If you are the Speaker of the House or the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, you might make that argument to the president right now, saying we got to try to win the middle back. If you saw what happened in New Jersey, you saw what happened in Virginia, you saw what happened even in Georgia in these elections, in the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, they've lost the middle. But the flip side to that is, number one, Trump won't be on the ballot again.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's only about Trump, he doesn't care about the political consequences. He thinks he's right, or he likes the use of power. I can't read his mind. But he's not voicing any regret about these images we're seeing. You haven't seen him say, "Ooh, that was too far." The other thing is that if you've lost the middle because of the economy or because of other issues, and you're going into a midterm year, well, then he has to try to get all of his base to turn out.
Yeah.
So there is I know it's some people out there are going to roll their eyes or throw things at me, but there is almost an argument of like gin up your base even more when you've lost the middle, because it's your only option. It may not be a good option, but it might be the only option.
So, John King, we intended to start this conversation with the incredible story about the killing of people who allegedly were leaders in some drug trafficking thing in an attempt to protect the United States, even though there's been no evidence provided of that. And brilliant reporting by the Washington Post the other day suggested that Pete Hegseth, who likes to call himself the Secretary of War, issued an order saying, kill everybody on the boat, which meant killing 2 survivors of the first attack who were clinging to the side of the boat, which, according to everybody whom I've heard who has expertise, if true, is a war crime. It seems to me now that the White House is acknowledging that there was a second hit, that they did do what the Washington Post says was done, even though Hegseth said that was not true originally, and that what their strategy is to blame the military leader who essentially pushed the button rather than Hegseth himself. Is that a fair description of where things are?
That is a fair description. And I would just add this, though, and we'll see where it goes. But you have Republican chairman, let me stress, Republican chairman in both the Senate and the House on the Armed Services Committee saying we're going to look into this. And so, there's this whole conversation of Republicans at a breaking point with Donald Trump. Roger Wicker happens to be the chairman on the Senate side. Old school Republican. He's navigated the Trump years, but he's not a Trump guy. He's an establishment traditionalist who takes his job seriously. So we'll see where they go with this. But that is exactly what has happened. The White House acknowledged the second strike, and Pete Hegseth has essentially said, "I stand by the commander who did it," essentially trying to pass the buck down the road. Here's the thing. Even in Trump's Pentagon, where maybe they didn't follow the rules exactly like they're supposed to. You're supposed to have lawyers come in with papers about the orders and things like that, and they explain what we're doing. They explain to your point, is this a war crime? Is this that? But there are number one, there are lawyers. Number two, there's a paper trail. Number three, there's an audio and a video trail. And so if Congress is serious, we're going to find out exactly what happened here. And Pete Hegseth deserves the benefit of the doubt until that fact. He says he didn't do this. This to me is a big test. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Republicans breaking from Trump, but we did see it on the Epstein files. You see it to a small degree on the affordability issue. Here on an issue that gets back to the point I just made about the white vans and guys in masks. This is a who are we conversation, right? Whether you agree or disagree with attacking alleged drug cartels, the idea that you got two guys hanging on a boat and somebody decides we're not going to rescue them and take them prisoner. If they're bad guys, take them prisoner, make them enemy combatants, make your case about it. Instead, we're going to shoot at them. If that turns out to be true, and if the Republicans are serious about the investigation, we'll get to the bottom of this. And I think, again, you may have one of these building moments as we head toward the midterm of some of us in the Republican Party, some of the leaders of the Republican Party actually want to do their jobs, not what Trump tells them to do.
I have one more question on this, but before we do, can I make a recommendation to the audience? If you didn't listen to yesterday's show, we discussed this at 11, and near the end of the conversation, we had a 25-year veteran of the Coast Guard called in who said he had encountered many circumstances not unlike this, and how he would have done it properly and did it properly as opposed to what was allegedly done here. John, the question I have, well, go ahead, Margie, you go first.
Well, I was just going to say, but this whole thing is going on at the same time as the former president of Honduras, who was sentenced to 45 years in jail, who took $1 million bribe from El Chapo, one of the most notorious drug dealers ever, has just gotten pardoned.
400 tons of cocaine, by the way.
Yeah, just gotten pardoned by Donald Trump. So how can anybody take this seriously? Maybe his base doesn't know about this because Fox News doesn't report it or the right-wing websites don't report it. But this is like a total sham, it seems to me.
If you look at the list of pardons and you look at convictions for drug trafficking or financial fraud and grift, it's pretty stunning. It is pretty stunning. You made a key point, Marjorie, about do his people hear about this? Because so many people have self-segregated their media consumption, their information consumption. I don't consider those guys media, at least not news media, but what can I do? They have the same right to the First Amendment we do, and we have to protect their right to the First Amendment. That's the great irony here, even when we think they're being reckless and stupid and keeping valuable information from people. Have debates about it if you want, but at least tell people what's going on. But yes, this one isn't a particularly egregious one. And again, there's barely a whimper. This is actually why that when you have the House Armed Services and the Senate Armed Services Republican chairman saying we're going to look into this alleged drug boat thing and the Hegseth orders, that is why it's significant, because you don't see them jumping up and down saying, you don't see Jim Jordan, for example, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, saying we're going to have a hearing to scrub this long list of presidential pardons because we think some of them, fine, if you want to say this one, I get it, but but they're not doing. The reason the Hegseth thing is interesting is that when in the Trump years has the Republican Congress done actual oversight of the Republican president? And it doesn't have to be nasty. It doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be political. It's just let's put people in the chairs who can air out the facts and let's debate whether we think that was right or wrong.
John, I have one last thing for you. We only have a couple of minutes left. The Democrats, when the 8 Democrats, I think it was 8 Democrats, agreed to reopen the government, which was all the votes the Republicans needed, got a commitment from the Republican leader Thune. There'd be a vote in December on continuing the health care subsidies. We mentioned yesterday with Michael Curry from the League of Community Health Centers, the at least for a day, Donald Trump saying, I think I'm going to support this thing, even though Obamacare is the worst thing that ever happened. What's likely to happen in this vote that I guess is, what, a week and a half away or something like that?
If it's just on extending the subsidies, they might get it through the Senate, but then it dies in the House because you're asking again, very Trumpy or very you go back to the Tea Party guys who are still around, who ran against Obamacare, to vote to support Obamacare. The Republicans, just like they did in the first Trump term, keep telling us they're going to come up with an alternative plan. I would not hold your breath. You will be back in the library, cured of your COVID. It will be out of your system. You may get COVID again and be back in the library before we see the detailed Republican healthcare plan, because they have so many internal policy contradictions and conflicts about how to do this. We're going to see that play out in the Democratic primaries next year, by the way, and the energy in the Democratic Party. But in the short term, the Democrats did I know a lot of hardcore Democrats say they caved on the shutdown. And I understand that position. I understand the people who make that position. But the Democrats do carry this issue over into the midterm year unless the Republicans figure a way out. And at the moment, the Republicans do not have a way out because a lot of them simply cannot vote for Obamacare. And that's how they view it.
So, but wait, one last thing. If Trump decides that because his majority in the House is at such risk in the midterms and decides, we'll extend, it's okay, Mike, take my direction, Mike Johnson, extend the subsidies, but with X and Y limitations on their availability in whatever way, that isn't impossible, is it? Or I don't know how good it would be.
No, it's not impossible. It's not impossible if Trump gets there. However, we talk about Trump entering potentially lame duck status, but the primaries next year most of them are in May and June, but they run as late as August. And I think there might even be one in September. So even if you decide it's time to break with Trump, Trump's unpopular, we're going to lose the midterms, I can separate myself from him. He still has that power in the primary. So imagine if Trump signs off on extending Obamacare, right? And the Republicans add some, maybe it's an income. They add some restrictions to say we've made it, less liberal or whatever. I always talk about Trump running primaries against people. Well, a whole bunch of people, they're going to have a new Tea Party movement. People come out and say, no, Jim Browdy voted for Obamacare. I'm primarying. So you're going to add another potential, into the midterm year political thing. But we have to watch where the president lands on this one.
Hey, John, thank you very much as always. Do you have any sports questions, Jim, before we go?
No, John is upset that we didn't ask him about last night's game. You have 10 seconds,
Spectacular.
John.
I'll end where I began. I'm not running for governor, but Drake May is the MVP of the National Football League.
There he is. John feels better
John,
now.
John, thank you very much.
See you, John
Good
King.
for the Patriots.
Thanks so much.
Speaking with CNN Chief National Correspondent John King, we thank him very much. We say goodbye to those of you listening up on NEPM. We much appreciate your listening. Make sure to tune into the Fabulous 413 starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The show continues here in Boston. Coming up after the new news on 89.7 GBH, Boston Pops conductor Keith Lockhart joins us. He's going to tell us all about the holiday pops, a little bit about himself. We just read some very interesting stories about him. They're going to launch their winter season this week. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. This is BPR and GBH and NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You're listening to Boston Public Radio with Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. Just ahead, more smart conversation about what's going on in our community. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Heights Crossing, an assisted living and memory support community offering residents experiences aimed at promoting independence, inspiring curiosity, and encouraging connection with others. More at heightscrossing.com.
Anytime you're looking for a snapshot of history, a window into the past, or the perfect partner in crime, GBH has you covered. Find all your favorite GBH shows streaming now on the PBS app.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on hour 2 of BPR, semi-live from the Boston Public Library. It's the most wonderful time of the year, the 2025 holiday pop season at Symphony Hall. We'll talk with Pop's conductor and occasional Boston Public Radio fill-in host, Keith Lockhart, about it all as it kicks off this Thursday.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then 4-time Academy Award-nominated actor Ethan Hawke zooms into the library. He's getting huge praise for his performance in Blue Moon, the latest from the director behind films like Boyhood and the Before trilogy that starred Hawke as well. Hawke is also the winner of the 2025 Coolidge Award, put on by the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline tomorrow. But he joins us first. All that, plus our bemoaned Two More Things segment next on the second hour of BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. This hour, President Trump is speaking with members of his cabinet as his administration faces congressional scrutiny over the legality of military strikes on Caribbean Sea vessels it suspects of drug trafficking. Bipartisan calls for an investigation are mounting after the Washington Post reported that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth allegedly ordered the military to kill anyone who survived a September 2nd strike on a suspected drug trafficking boat. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, a retired naval officer, was asked yesterday for his reaction.
When a reporter asked him about the strikes, Kelly said if the reporting is accurate, that second strike could have been illegal.
I will say, though, as somebody who has sunk 2 ships myself, folks in the military need to understand the law of the sea, the Geneva Conventions, what the law says.
And leaders of the Senate and House Armed Services Committees have said they're going to be looking into these strikes. And Admiral Bradley is expected to give a classified briefing on Thursday.
NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reporting. Kelly was among a group of congressional Democrats with either military or intelligence backgrounds who recently told service members in a video they are obligated not to follow illegal orders. President Trump called the lawmakers traitors. High-level talks are on tap today in Moscow, where President Trump's special envoy is expected to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Steve Witkoff and Putin will be discussing the latest U.S. proposal for ending Russia's war with Ukraine. NPR's Charles Maine says Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is also on the trip to Moscow.
This is the 6th time Witkoff has met in person with Putin since President Trump tasked him with resolving the Ukraine crisis back in January. This time, the billionaire businessman turned presidential envoy comes bearing a new draft peace plan, one initially criticized for being overly favorable to Russia and since revised with input from Ukraine and its European allies. It remains unclear whether Putin will accept those changes. In comments last week, Putin said he remained open to the U.S. proposal in theory, but the Kremlin leader also conditioned any lasting peace on Ukraine withdrawing from territory claimed but not controlled by Moscow, despite more than 3 years of heavy fighting. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
AI now touches the lives of many people, and NPR's Barbara Sprunt reports a nonprofit hopes to harness the power of AI.
It's been 35 years since a new independent candidate won a House seat, but the Independence Center wants to change that. The nonprofit is using AI to find congressional districts where voters are fed up with both parties. Strategists say they've identified 40 districts like that where independents could break through. The center plans on backing about a dozen candidates in the midterms next year, and with the extremely narrow balance of power in the House, just a handful of independents could prevent either party from getting a majority.
It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell advising residents to make well-researched and informed decisions when donating to charitable organizations on this Giving Tuesday. Campbell writes, quote, "As we enter this holiday season, I want to remind residents that your generosity is more important than ever, and so is your vigilance," unquote. Included are tips like know your charity before you donate, verify the charity's name, address, number, email, and website if available, find out where your money is going, ask how much of that money goes to charity, and beware of statements like all proceeds go to charity, because terms like proceeds are not well defined and could refer to the net amounts that the fundraiser's fee is deducted. Keep records of all your donations and don't feel pressured. Take time to decide if you want to donate and And don't pay cash or debit card. Pay by credit card or check, especially if donating online. And meanwhile, this Giving Tuesday, GBH is counting on listeners just like you to help keep local news and public media strong every day. Our community tells us that they value and trust thoughtful programming and local reporting. These are things that make GBH a reliable voice, a companion for your day, and a source for connection for the community. You can give now by clicking the donate button at gbhnews.org. And on behalf of all of us, thank you. In sports, the Bruins are in Detroit tonight. The Celtics host the Knicks at the Garden. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher's dedicated team of specialists provide resources on investing, retirement income, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Woo, okay, that gets us in the mood. 12 Days of Christmas by the Boston Pops, and we are joined right here by Keith Lockhart. But first,
hey, everybody.
I have to say, it's hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. We're broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Jim is powering through his 5th or 6th bout with COVID. He is back from his boudoir, his red boudoir in Cambridge, which apparently we have learned is inspired by the Melanie Rose Netflix smash show about how to build a sex room. Ooh. And the first thing you do is paint it red.
Hey,
well, I should just notice. What's that, Keith Lockhart?
I just wanted to say, well, I don't mean to be difficult.
Sure, bud.
That was a quote from yesterday.
But I'm bummed. Thank you very much.
Very good.
But
now, by the way,
do anything to avoid being in the same room with me, won't you?
Well, you notice you mentioned the red in my room from that show. Notice what Keith Lockhart is wearing? Exactly.
That's right.
We're joined now here at the library by Keith Lockhart.
What are you saying, Jim?
Ask Marjorie.
You've seen Melanie Rose as well, I guess? I don't know. I'll tell you about this.
Because if I were in Jim's room, I'd be invisible. So.
That's right. You would be invisible. You'd blend right in.
No, I don't think that's what he meant. Okay, let's try to introduce Keith Lockhart. Keith Lockhart, sometime co-host of Boston Public Radio, is celebrating 30 years as conductor of the Great Boston Pops Orchestra. Here to spread word about this year's Holiday Pops concerts, which kick off Thursday at Symphony Hall. For info and tickets, go to bso.org. Now I can say, good to see you, Keith Lockhart.
Good to see you too, Jim.
So give us the overview. What is Holiday Pops?
What is Holiday Pops? Well, Holiday Pops is something that started, strangely, only about as a regular thing on the symphony schedule, only about 52 years ago. So I've done more than half of the run of that as a way to, Fiedler by that point had done several Christmas albums, but there were no Pops Christmas concerts. The Pops existed only in its traditional May, June, July season through the summer. And the idea was we should do some Christmas concerts. And that has grown from that to really, I think, really possibly Boston's greatest and most lasting holiday tradition, which we find absolutely thrilling.
Can I also say, I said this every year that Keith joins us around Christmas time. This is generally not the kind of thing that I would say to myself, I would like. It is so much fun. It is indescribable. Every single. And I have to say, and we'll describe the content of it in a minute. You're doing, 44 concerts in a month? Is that what the schedule?
That's not even counting the other concerts that we're doing. It's about 50 if you total everything together. We do some runouts. We're in Manchester and Providence, Worcester, Lowell, and we're doing some concerts after the holidays, after Christmas is over too.
So how grueling is that?
Grueling. And And I have this from a person. It's grueling on everybody. I mean, our production team in particular. The number of times we have to turn the hall around. Our service staff who do amazing jobs of trying to keep everybody happy in that hall. You know, one after another. There's a period each weekend where from 3:00 on Friday to 9:30 on Sunday we do 8 concerts.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
God.
It's unbelievable.
But for me, it's a lot more grueling than it was 30 years ago.
Well, you're also doing all this special stuff. Charlie Brown Christmas, that's right, before New Year's.
So after Christmas, we take the 25th and the 26th off because we kind of have to. On the 27th and 28th, we're doing Elf, the full movie on our high def giant screen with the Pops playing the entire John Debney score along with it. And on the 30th, we're doing a new project for us called A Charlie Brown Christmas Live in Concert.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love the music from that. That's going to be fantastic. And you also talk about, which I'm going to for the first time ever this year, is one of your matinees. And you do the matinees for the kids, and you also do the neurodiverse concerts. So tell us about both of those.
Right. Well, we started, I began to realize, I'm a little slow learner, but about 10 years into the time I was here, I realized that we had these 11 o'clock concerts that got a totally different group from everything else. I mean, we had, we welcome families all the way through the season, but the nighttime concerts, which at that point were still at 8, were kind of past some of the youngest ones' bedtimes.
Right.
So you'd have a family there which had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a babe in arms. And I started saying, maybe we should be doing different concerts for these people. And their parents are trying to hang on to them for 2 hours, And so we decided to do a shorter concert with a more kid-friendly sort of menu and change the program a little in light of the fact that most of those people were obviously coming for that experience for their children, but still make them so they play well for the parents. And those have become extremely popular. Most of our 11 o'clock matinees are that sort of show. You can get the details, of course, on the website.
And Santa, of course, is there as usual.
And Santa is there even more. Santa makes a long appearance for that because, of course, and one of the best scenes in all of Holiday Pops is Santa trying to make his way down the aisle to the stage with 3-year-olds hanging off of him, grabbing on his pants legs, hugging his boot, and their parents trying to pull them off, and they're like, Santa, come back.
That's great. That's great. And then
so Keith, wait, I want to ask. Okay,
you didn't get to the neurodiverse thing. I just want to hear that because that is.
Sure.
I did go to one of those for the BSO, and I thought it was incredible.
Did you want to tell them about this?
We should tell them about that. Yeah, that's right.
Here? We don't have any close-ups, do we?
No. Can we see that close-up? I think we sometimes can. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
There it is. There you are, Keith, with Santa.
Yes, this was our second Holiday Pops album, which came out, I believe, in 2010. No, before that.
Yeah,
more like
before
2003. Oh, that's a long time ago.
Close enough.
Anyway, I'm there with Santa, as you can see, and we're in his sleigh, and we're looking at all the good boys and girls who are about to receive visits from Santa. And I have a large copy of this picture, which the photographer for this album took. And it's in our Christmas decorations. And every year when we bring the boxes down, it goes up on the wall replacing something else. And when the kids were younger, because they don't quite believe this now, they would, if they'd start to act up, I'd say, I'm going to tell Santa. And they'd go, oh, you don't know Santa. And I'd point at the picture and go, obviously I know Santa. I got to ride in the sleigh. And they'd be like, ooh.
That's
so
right.
I get another hour of good behavior,
I love
so
it.
Speaking of the kids, and you mentioned a minute ago, Keith Lockhart, you're off the 25th and 26th before you go back to work. How do you deal with the fact you get home on the 25th and you knock on the door and your kids say, hey, Mom, there's a strange man knocking. What do you, I mean?
Well, it is a tough time. And it was hard when they were younger. Now they have more of an understanding of it. And it's really cool to now have my almost 16-year-old, arranging with his friends to get a table to come to Pops, and and now they can even arrange their own transportation. It's really getting weird.
So do you have, by the way, I want to repeat what I said. It is fun from beginning to end. Sing along, Santa, the incredible music, the spirit of the thing is just beautiful in the whole room. Do you have fun, or is it just it's a work thing that you're proud of, but do you have fun doing it?
I do have fun doing it, and I think, not 100% of the time, but the thing is, I think most performers react and are buoyed by the reaction they get from the audience. And there are no concerts in which the audience seems to want to be there more than they do during Holiday Pops, and we feed off of that.
Well, you mentioned you're not always happy about this. Jonathan Soroff, a friend and a good writer, wrote a great piece about you in Boston Magazine where he talked about your death face. What's that?
My death face? You'll never see it. There's a reason I don't face the audience.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The musicians see it? Is that what you're telling us?
They did. That was when I was young and foolish.
Okay.
Then I realized you got, more with sugar. But every now and then something will happen. Not that you guys should ever notice that. And if something does happen, sometimes one gets an immediate facial response to that. And I suppose that's what it was.
And is this when they miss a beat, or they're off key, or they're what?
Not saying.
Not saying. Okay.
They
misbehave.
You don't get to see below the surface of the water where the duck's feet are going like this.
Okay.
Keith, we mentioned you were kind enough, and your colleagues were kind enough to invite Marjorie and me to MC one of the great celebrations honoring your 30 years.
And you guys were great, by the way, and thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, that was great fun.
We had such a wonderful time. Everybody was great. But I quoted, I don't have it in front of me now, I quoted from the New York Times story on the day you were hired 30 years before, in which it read something like, his sparkling blue eyes matched the brilliant blue of his tie. So it was a beautiful image.
That's right.
That's what Marjorie said about you last time you were here.
Sounds like a come-on line of some sort.
Exactly. So how do you reflect back? Did you expect to be here? You're the second longest serving conductor by a lot, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. What was your expectation when you were a kid starting this thing 30 years ago?
Well, my expectation was always that it was a long-term commitment, that I had to decide that I wanted my career to go in this direction, and that they put a lot into creating a persona around somebody whom nobody knew at that point. But I don't think when you're 35, you really think of long-term as being like, that much of your life again in something. So no, I didn't know. I knew I was here for a while. I didn't know how long a while was, and here I am, still showing up and still loving my life.
Why'd they? I've never asked you this, and I can't believe I don't know the answer. Why'd they pick you? No, I'm serious. You obviously are known by everybody in America and around the world. People didn't know who you were then.
I never asked them that either, because I figured they were going to say, oh, wait, wrong choice. I think it was very interesting when John, any transition in an institution that has so much weight to it as the institution of the Boston Pops does. When Fiedler died in 1980 in the middle of his 50th season, I think they said, who can replace him? Do we want another person who people think of as Arthur Fiedler? And they said, well, nobody, they're just going to constantly be compared to somebody who, by that point, was synonymous with the institution. And so they went for John, who had a completely different profile and was famous, but famous for a largely different reason. He was, even by that point, the John Williams of Star Wars. And when John announced, after 13 years on the podium, that he was going to leave, I think they decided, let's go for somebody who has the requisite musical skills and will front the brand well and is totally different from John Williams. But you want to know the scariest little bit of statistic for being here for 30 years?
What?
When I came in and John handed the baton to me, it was this whole thing about a whole new generation taking over, and he was, and I'm older than John was when he passed the baton to me. So.
We're talking to Keith Lockhart ahead of the incredibly wonderful Boston Pops holiday concerts. You can go to bso.org to get information and tickets.
John Williams was incredibly still writing music, and I think he's in his late 80s by now.
Oh no, he's 90. He'll be 94.
94.
Yes.
I mean, how many people are still composing music?
And he is still composing music for Spielberg's next film. It's his lifeline.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is his fountain of youth.
That's incredible. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is this 250th. This is a big deal this year for the Pops. I don't mean to get off the Christmas, but this is going to be a big deal because of the 250th anniversary. What's going to happen?
Well, that of course remains to be seen. But what's amazing about it is that the entire Massachusetts 250 celebration committee and the community behind it, the business community, and the government have come together to say that we are going to be the place where people come to celebrate our 250th anniversary this July 4th, and that we already have the event that should be the centerpiece event of that. The signature event will be the 4th of July celebration, and we have so much more in terms of funding, resource, just general support from all over the community, both the business community and the government, to allow us to do an amazing show. Not that all of our shows aren't amazing, but seeing the community embrace it as something that we should all be supporting, something that is, really a valuable thing in Boston and in Massachusetts and beyond, is great.
But by the way, I should say another place to get tickets, bostonpops.org. Is probably the preferred site. But Keith, I don't buy the notion that you say, remains to be seen, because it's really not that far away. And I know you're like the ultimate planner. When I read the press
normally you ask me in May.
I'm not going to ask you because I know you're not going to tell us. No, I know you're not going to tell us. But when I read the press release that came out, a couple of $1 million from the state, and the quotes from people like Governor Healy were, or maybe you, I'm not sure, it's going to be even more spectacular than it's been before. How do you make the fireworks more spectacular than they've been before? How do you make the tableau with hundreds of thousands of people splayed out before you more spectacular than it's been before?
Let me see. Okay, the fireworks, you make them longer.
Exactly. You make them longer.
The tableau, you get Brian Raffinelli involved.
Oh.
The greatest event planner who ever lived, for those who don't know. Yeah, okay.
No, one thing people don't realize is that we've had, of course, a lot of generous community partners, but a large part of the cost of producing this thing has come to the Boston Pops, the Boston Symphony, over these years. And this is a great taking of ownership of it by the broader community, and I hope it's the ushering in a whole new era in this show. I'm really glad to have all those partners in helping us fund and continue the show.
So one last thing about
one other thing.
Yes, please.
We're also going to reinstall all the screens up and down the Charles on both sides of the Charles.
Oh, that is fabulous.
Things that went away around the point of the pandemic and didn't come back because the costs were becoming prohibitive for us.
That's a big deal, so you can see everything so well.
Yes.
That's a really big deal.
So everybody besides just those first 10,000 people can see the show.
Yeah.
So is the so-called, as the leader of the band, there's this one monstrous event, July 4th, and there's holiday where you do more than 44 concerts in less than a month. How do you approach in your head those totally different kind of but equally huge experiences?
Well, they are, as you point out, one is a sprint and one is a marathon. The July 4th concert is always a very intense amount of work because it all has to come together very, very quickly. I mean, we're not even putting stuff out onto the Esplanade till like 5 days before the concert, and all of a sudden that whole thing has to happen, and it's live, and things happen live and outdoors, like occasional evacuations into the Storrow Drive tunnels and fun stuff like that over the years.
That's right.
Yeah, and sudden rain showers that show up, and those sorts of things make it exciting. The Pops holiday shows are more kind of thinking about how to make this it integrate with the previous shows we've done and to guide it toward the future. I mean, the whole, a tradition is a tradition, but traditions don't last if you try to freeze them in amber.
A texter, a couple of texters have asked, I asked you, but I didn't think I waited till you answer me. The neurodiverse thing, that's for kids that have issues, or anybody that has issues with hearing, and autistic kids on the spectrum, that kind of thing.
The sensory-friendly concerts are something we've been doing since, I think, about 8 years or so now during the holidays. And I was kind of unaware of the need for them, to be honest, when we started doing them. And some of our community partners said, we'd really like you to try this. As soon as I did one, I saw what the need was for them. At the beginning of those, we were very careful. We consulted with doctors about what the appropriate things to do and not do were, and we were careful with lighting, and we're still careful to not create any jump scare moments in the concert. But the most important thing was that it's a judgment-free zone where people who have family members who are affected by various, ranging from the mild to the quite profound difficulties with normal sensory reception that we take for granted, can come and let their families be what they are, and everybody embraces them and doesn't look at them and shush them. We had families, I had mothers coming up in tears going, you don't realize we don't get to ever do anything as a family. We basically, when the holidays come and everybody else is out celebrating with other people, we're by ourselves because we can't take whoever this person is without being judged and looked at and, or asked to leave.
No, I think that's so true. People asking what's wrong with these kids.
Exactly.
And
what's wrong with these kids is that they are dealing with awful challenges, but so are their families.
Two of the things that I was really interested in, that I learned in the Boston Magazine piece, about your superstitions. You mentioned Seiji Ozawa, former conductor of the BSO, used to touch the door, I guess, before he went out.
It was always a touch wood thing on his way out.
And what do you do?
Not much, actually. I'm pretty boring.
I thought
just
you
in
put
general,
your clothes on in a certain way.
Well, I put them one leg at a time, just like everyone else. I tried.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, that was quick
Try
editing.
the veal. He'll be in the lounge.
Okay.
I do have routines, I suppose, more than suspicions.
Okay, you have routines.
Can I ask? Well, I want to ask a question about that because I don't really care about how he puts his pants on. When I was reading the Jonathan Soroff piece, and he asked you what your favorite song was from the Great American Songbook, I was totally convinced you wouldn't answer. I was sure you'd say, well, there's so many. And you picked a song that is one of my favorite songs of all time by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein, All the Things You Are. Can we just play a minute? It's such a beautiful song. Let's just play a minute.
The dearest things I know are what you are. Someday my happy arms will hold you, and someday I'll know that moment divine when all the things you are.
So beautiful. Hey Keith, why is that your favorite? I love it too. Why is that so special for you?
I love that song, and just think of how well that was a pretty old-timey recording of it, but that song still works. It's over 100 years old. It was written in the early 20s, I think. But now that you're interviewing me, I would say, well, maybe The Nearness of You.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Another or Love Is Here to Stay, which was the last song completed by George Gershwin before his untimely death. I suppose every morning when I wake up, I'd probably answer that question differently.
Okay. You were asked another great question in this piece about the title of your memoir, and you talked about, you get offered your favorite quote about music. If you don't remember it, I've got it right here.
Is this the Berlioz quote? Or?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember? Do you want it?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
I did it for Soroff. I can
did
do
it for
it for
Soroff.
you.
Just want to double check.
One of the composers who did the most in being able to not only compose great music but speak eloquently about it was the great 19th century French Romantic composer Hector Berlioz. And his memoirs end with a quote. He first goes on for about most of a chapter about how he wished he had known Shakespeare. That was the one great regret in his life, who he says might have loved me as much as I love him. But then he says, which of the two is greater, love or music? It is a great question, but I believe the answer lies herein. Love can give no idea of music. Music can give an idea of love. Why separate them? They are the two wings of the human soul.
Oh my God. That's a real.
Oh my God.
That's.
And that was, I wish I'd written that, and that's what I said should be my memoir.
It's great. That's great. The tickets, bostonpops.org is where you go to get tickets. Keith Lockhart, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for what you do for this community. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's my honor and my pleasure. Great to see you, Marjorie. Get better, big guy.
Hey, if you want to join me in the Red Room anytime, you know where I live.
As I said, I can just hang on the wall and you won't see me.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Keith Lockhart. We have been speaking with Keith Lockhart, conductor of the Boston Pops.
See you, Keith.
The holiday pop season starts this Thursday. You want to get tickets at bostonpops.org. Very simple, bostonpops.org for info and tickets. Coming up after this quick break, actor Ethan Hawke joins us. He's going to zoom in ahead of an event at the Coolidge Corner Theater tomorrow. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
What happens when your child's school is falling apart, but the funding just isn't there to fix it? In Massachusetts, suburban schools get the most state support, so struggling urban districts are forced to find their own ways to improve their aging classrooms.
Nothing more important in school buildings. That's where our kids are. So it's very important that we have a coherent and equitable funding structure to support that work.
I'm Trajan Warren. You can find the rest of that story online at gbhnews.org.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And UMass Lowell, ranked /1 best value public university in Massachusetts by the Wall Street Journal and U.S. News and World Report. Learn more at uml.edu/rankings.
And Bonsai Bar, hosting pop-up beginner bonsai workshops at breweries across New England. Hands-on classes provide guidance in the basics of bonsai design and care in a more at bonsaibar.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browder. She's Marjorie Egan. She is live from the Boston Public Library. I am sort of live with COVID from my bedroom in Cambridge, and we're both streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Most of us met our next guest in a film about 30 years ago alongside Robin Williams and the Dead Poets Society. Since then, Ethan Hawke has starred in countless films and plays, produced documentaries, written several books. In his latest spectacular film, which I saw this weekend, Blue Moon, he transforms himself into lyricist Lorenz Hart as he grapples with the end of his creative relationship with Richard Rodgers of Oklahoma fame, which was without Hart. It's directed by Richard Linklater, Hawke's longtime collaborator and friend on film like Boyhood and the Before trilogy. Here's a clip with Andrew Scott as Rodgers as the two discuss revamping one of their musicals together.
It can be the new Rodgers and Hart show for the fall. New gags, new songs.
New references. We'll satirize the whole war. Rationing, rubber drives, nylon drives. A new number for Vivian.
Go easy with the satire. Hello, nice to see you. Appreciate it.
There
Thank
came
you.
a lull, then Cordell Holson orders from above. I'm sorry, girls, put down your pearls, because now we're rationing love.
I don't know how we got Cordell Holland to come.
Who cares? It's funny.
Ethan Hawke will be in town tomorrow to receive the 2025 Coolidge Award at the Coolidge Corner Theater at a sold-out event hosted by our colleague, the Culture Show's Jared Bowen. And I should say, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, not only is Ethan spectacular in this film, but he has done something in the film that very few people thought was even possible. He has brought back the comb-over. He joins us now. Congratulations on that and the award. Good to see you, Ethan Hawke.
Boy, am I proud of bringing back the comb-over. You know, it went out of fashion, and I remember I used to go swimming with my grandfather, and it would be so embarrassing because his comb-over, it would hang weird, and it would be so long, hang down past his chin on the right side. So embarrassing. And then he'd get out of the pool and slick it right over.
Oh, yeah. But you do appear wonderful. And you talk about, actually, I felt so bad for Lawrence Hart between the comb-over and the fact that, what was he, 4'10"? And you confront that discrimination issue that it hurt him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the world is an incredibly heightened place. You know, I mean, I'm friends with the legend and the genius Peter Dinklage. And, you know, it's not easy in the world when everybody has this association with, tall and powerful, tall and, you know, honest, and, you know, none of which they give attributes to tall people that they did not deserve.
Exactly. Jim is very tall, Ethan. He's 6'5". I say that all the time.
I don't want to hurt his feelings, but, you know, it just doesn't mean he's a great person, you know.
It surely does not mean I'm a great person. Wait, Marjorie, you ran over the comb-over far too quickly.
I did? I'm
First
sorry.
of all, Rudy Giuliani has never been happier than when he saw the film. I want to say that first, Ethan.
Yeah.
But secondly, what kind of reaction did you get? It is so odd to see you in this wonderful part with that head of yours there. What kind of reaction did you get from friends and family and that kind of thing?
Well, you know, until you really shave your head, you don't really know what your scalp looks like. And it's you know, for me, it's just something I'd never seen before, and it has a lot of weird marks on it, and it's not a feeling.
Oh.
No, I loved Larry Hart, and what was fun about him was that he felt like he was the smallest person in the room, so he had to be the biggest personality.
Yeah.
He was closeted, you know, in a time when being gay was illegal in this country. He was incredibly mean-spirited and vain and bitter, and he was also incredibly warm and empathetic and a lover of everything. And so he's a kind of perfect example of the correlation of opposites. Just nothing, everything about him was in some kind of careful balance, which made it really fun to play as an actor.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about when I saw the film this weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people are, is your long, incredibly productive relationship with Linklater. And I know this is an odd... Marjorie and I have been doing radio for 26 years together, and one of the reasons it's so joyful is because we know each other so well and we intersect so well. I mean, how huge has that been to work with somebody who you must feel is like another side of yourself, and vice versa, I would assume, if he were here?
You know, sometimes I feel slightly embarrassed because it's been such good fortune. You know, I mean, every actor, we're only as good as our opportunities. And how I had the good fortune in my, you know, I was 22 years old when I met Rick. He just made Slacker. He was, I mean, you know, I'm not the only one to say that he was a real original voice of my generation. And to be a performer who loves acting, have a great friend who's a genius film director, I feel embarrassed. Like I feel like I drew the longest straw and I win the prize, but it's not for my own doing. You know, I love working with him. I love the way he thinks. I love what he thinks is cinematic, is not what he sees the world in a really unique and gentle way with a tremendous amount of love and empathy for human beings. And we live in a culture where there's so much malevolence and irony. And I love partnering up with somebody that's like, nah, I think the world is more complicated than that.
Well, that's one of the great things I think about this Blue Moon is that it is a complicated story about as you just said, a man with great empathy and great genius, but all these other troubles and addiction and all that kind of stuff. But I wondered with Linklater, because he did the before trilogy, Sunrise, Sunset, Midnight. Is there going to be like a fourth? Like on my deathbed or on the way out the door? What do you think?
That would be pretty fun, actually.
Yeah.
You know, the deathbed movie. The only problem is God willing, we would have outlived our audience. You know, by the time I'm really ready to do my deathbed movie, our whole fan base will be on their deathbed.
That could be.
You know, can we stay on that a second? I know you're probably asked this question more than the other, and I'm sure you're sick to death of it, and you'll be too nice to say that. Why wasn't there a fourth? I mean, there's spacing, as all of us know who've seen them all, 9 years, 9.5 years. Why wasn't there a fourth?
Because, to be honest, it felt finished. There's
Really?
something, it's just a feeling you have, like, how do you know when you're done with verses of a song? You know, you don't know. You just feel it. The first film starts with Julie and I in our early 20s watching a couple in their 40s fight, clearly been together for a long time. And the third film is we are that couple, and it feels like a perfect circle to me. So if we were to revisit it, it would have to have. I don't think it would have a title of before in it. I could imagine us doing a film called, you know, After Midnight or something. And I don't know. All it would take is Julie or Rick to have a really wonderful idea to set us all ablaze, and we would do it. It just felt done.
We're talking to Ethan Hawke, who is being honored at the Coolidge, which we'll talk about in a second this week.
I think one of the things that's unique about your career, too, is what you've chosen to do with the documentaries and novels and all this kind of stuff. How did the Flannery O'Connor, I know your daughter Maya was in that, but how did the Flannery O'Connor, people may know, kind of a Gothic Catholic writer from the South, died very young of lupus. Unusual choice. How did that come about?
You know, life, I find life so mysterious. My mother was a giant Flannery O'Connor fan, and when she was worried I was a macho jerk, in my, 17, 18, 19, she started force-feeding me Flannery O'Connor stories to kind of shake up my worldview, and it meant a lot to me. And then strangely, when she was about 16, Maya fell in love with Flannery O'Connor, and she actually worked up she adapted some of Flannery's journals into her audition for Juilliard. And it was a beautiful monologue. And I watched Maya, I worked with her before she auditioned for Juilliard, and I was like, this is an incredible character. And we just started daydreaming about a movie and what a special person she was. And could we make a movie about faith? Faith is a very hard subject. It's ripe for literature, very difficult to put on film.
Yeah.
And we thought it was a fun dare. And it, my wife produced it. My mother loved Flannery. It felt like a real getting in touch with all the women in my family in a profound way for me personally.
Speaking of the women in my family, my younger daughter said, if I didn't mention that your daughter Maya and Stranger Things was her favorite thing, that she would shoot me. So I've now said it, and we can move on. So,
we can move on.
Yeah.
Coolidge thing tomorrow. Does this matter? I mean, I know you can't answer. Does this matter to you? It's sort of like, it's not quite a lifetime achievement thing, but it sort of is. Does this matter to you?
It's a funny thing. It matters a lot to me, and it's a little mysterious to me what matters to me and what doesn't. But I respect the people at the Coolidge, and I remember I really respect them a lot, and I respect what it takes to keep movies alive, and the people who own and run independent movie theaters. I'm greatly indebted to. My life's work is meaningless without them. And for the great curators of this country, I'm really especially grateful. And funnily enough, the first time I went to the Coolidge, I saw framed on the wall was a picture of Dennis Hopper that the owner had taken before Dennis Hopper went out to do a Q&A for Out of the Blue. In his expression, he looks so nervous. And I know that feeling so much when you're walking out for a Q&A and you're like, do they hate this movie? And Dennis Hopper, as cool as he is, has this look on his face of absolute dread and hope at the same time. And they gave me the photo, and it hangs over my desk every morning when I wake up. I look at it and I think of the Coolidge. And so when I got this offer, I was like, hey, we had amazing screenings of Blaze up there. We had amazing screenings of Wildcat. I'm sure the Before trilogy. I don't remember the first time I went up there. But anyway, I could try. But
so you're nervous they're going to see Blue Moon? Are you dreading their reaction to Blue Moon?
Well, not particularly, because I've screened this movie. You know, we premiered it at Berlin and Telluride, and it's already been out a little bit across the country. So that premiere that Dennis was getting his picture taken out, that was the world premiere of Out of the Blue. And that's when you get that real heartsick feeling where you have no idea, is this Easy Rider or is this something people are going to make fun of? And you have no idea.
Yeah, I mean the Coolidge, because I live near there. It's a great treasure. You can go and hear directors. You can go and hear actors. You can go do an interview that you're going to be doing with our colleague Jared Bowen tomorrow. I mean, it's really for people that are, even if you're not a film buff, it's just great to see these people up close and personal and hear them talk about the films they're creative. I think it's a treasure. It's a treasure.
If you are a film buff and you're there as a director, and you're doing a Q&A at the Coolidge, and this beautiful woman raises her hand and asks you a question, and all of a sudden you look in her eyes and realize it's Liv Ullmann. You're like, I love the Coolidge.
That's right. You said something about Blue Moon I thought was very interesting. Speaking of beautiful women looking at you, I mean, you're a good-looking guy. You're an actor. You talked about how when you were in this in the Hart character, how women wouldn't flirt with him. And you realized that kind of it was a whole different perspective because you were in a trench to make yourself really short, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It might just be age. It might be the trench. I don't know. But Wally didn't give me the time of day like it was in the old days. I had some rap going, but all my rap was over.
Yeah. Well, it's a different perspective on the world, I guess. Put it that way. Why did you do this? Go ahead, Joe.
Well, Ethan Hawke, are you worried about the AI, Ethan Hawke?
You know, I don't want to bore the airwaves with more AI talk, but I will say that for me, it breaks my brain that for me, it's like a plagiarism machine. And it's the example I try to use is if I rode a bicycle or a motorcycle 26.2 miles, I would definitely get there faster, but I wouldn't have run a marathon. And what this idea is that we're going to cede our humanity to computers, it makes it seem like the point of life is the result of the action as opposed to the doing of it. And like when I hang a painting, this painting behind me, for anybody on the Zoom, if you can't see on the radio or whatever, I have a mural that Richard Linklater made for me when I was going through my divorce. And it means the world to me to have a friend in this world that like takes time out and says, hey, I see you, you're gonna survive this. Here's something beautiful. Yeah, could AI do a cooler mural? Probably, but it wouldn't be from my friend. I have over at my house for my kids. Are they brilliant? They are to me because Clementine did it, you know? And it's full of them and their love and the stuff of their life and the stuff of our life, and this whole idea that a computer can drive better, maybe, but then I'm not going to meet Bruce, who's going to know the secret path, and we're going to have this amazing conversation when we get to the airport or whatever it is. You know, we're giving up all the joy of our life in this idea of greed and efficiency. And so I'm bored. Let's blow them up. Blow up the computer. We should put them on a mission to solve climate change, and that's it.
Okay. We're not solving climate change right now. By the way, I sense you are not a fan of the president. I know you were a Kamala Harris person. He's not doing much for climate change. We're going in the opposite direction.
Well, you know, I've been thinking a lot about that in politics and stuff. And you know what I just keep coming back to?
What?
Is how much I value honesty.
Yeah.
And when people don't tell the truth, we don't know the ground we're walking on. And then everything becomes suspect. And every human being struggles with telling the truth, but we have to push each other to make that the bar we all aspire for. And without the aspiration for truth-telling, and particularly from our leadership, we require them to tell us the truth. And that's my biggest problem. I don't know who I support and who I don't support, but I'm just against people who lie.
Yeah.
I'm against it all told, and I hate the manipulation of truth. And I keep one of the things I always liked about Jimmy Carter is you could not like his politics or like his politics. You always felt like he was telling you the truth, and you could get mad about it, but it was the truth from his point of view. And so that's my stump.
So,
and I'm out.
Ethan, when you were on with us a couple of years ago, I think it was around the time of Blaze, when you were left, I said to Marjorie, I said, he seems like such an incredibly decent guy. And I'm about to say that to her again at the news break. Is that real? Are you that decent a guy?
He's not truthful. He's
in real
faking
life?
it all, Jim.
Are you? I mean, you seem to be really normal. Are you?
If I am, it is completely to the credit of the people I share my life with. And I've always, nobody in my family ever asked me for money. Nobody in my family ever manipulated me. My father really values telling the truth. My mother really values. So I'm just repeating, my wife is like a really good person. Like, some people, they get partnered up with Iago and they're whispering. My wife is like a great friend. In this business, all of us can teeter out of balance. And I've been so blessed to have strong friends. I get to do these movie things with Richard Linklater, who's, I don't know if you've met him, but he's a world-class human being. He's so humble. He doesn't think he's important. He doesn't think his movies are important. He's not breaking his arm, patting himself on the back. He works really hard, and he cares about trying to give people something worth their time. And I love being his friend because any of these people I mentioned, our friends keep us in balance. And when we don't have people in our life that tell us you're talking about yourself too much, you mentioned Maya. My two oldest, my youngest are wonderful too, but I have two grown children, 23-year-old son and a 27-year-old daughter. And man, they keep me in line. They're remarkable human beings. And they're now completely unjaded about the arts. They're in love with the arts. And they help keep that love alive in me to be the person I pretend to be on the radio when I get home. They make sure that stays, and I love them for that.
Well, on that note, you even look good in a comb over, Ethan Hawke. What better can I say about anybody?
Yeah. Okay. Hey.
Congratulations. Good luck tomorrow. The film is fabulous, and we're really happy that the Coolidge is honoring you like they are. Be well.
Thank you so much for being with us, Ethan.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you later.
We really enjoyed the time. Thanks.
We have been speaking with actor, filmmaker, producer, and author Ethan Hawke. He is receiving the 2025 Coolidge Award tomorrow for his work advancing original and challenging and terrific cinema. He's going to be interviewed there by our colleague, Jared Bowen. Thanks again to Ethan Hawke for joining us. After this quick break, just enough time in the hour for our Two More Things segment. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
In a 1-mile stretch of Houston, a Hindu temple, Vietnamese Buddhist center, a church, and a mosque all call each other neighbor.
That's what the United States is. We're a melting pot of a whole lot of different nationalities, of different religions, etc. And I think this is just a microcosm of that.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly. How the Union Corridor presents a snapshot of interfaith harmony in Texas on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Fixed Dental, offering permanent teeth-on implants, customized in their laboratory, enabling their doctors and technicians to oversee every aspect of the smile design. Learn more about all the treatments offered at Fixed at fixeddental.com. And the Bach Center, presenting the 25th Annual Anthony Williams Urban Nutcracker, a holiday classic with a blend of classical and modern dance, at the Bach Center Schubert Theater, December 13th through the 21st. Tickets at bachcenter.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. We are, well, we're not both live from the Boston Public Library. One of us is home, and it's time for Marjorie's favorite segment, Two More Things. Take it away, Marjorie.
Okay, let me start. When a second grade kid in Vermont didn't show up for school last week, a teacher reached out to say what's going on, and the boy's father, according to the Winooski School Superintendent Wilmer Shavaria, this is in the Boston Globe, said, my wife and my son, who's in second grade, left on Thursday for a trip. They're not answering my messages. I don't know where they are. And after a frantic couple of days, I finally figured out that this little child and mother had been, and his mother had been picked up by ICE, driving from Vermont to Minneapolis for Thanksgiving. They had been picked up by ICE, and they were shoved out of the country, held. This is a 7-year-old child in a facility in Texas, and they're going to be deported. This was an illegal taking, no due process. They were just taken and they're gone. The superintendent of schools said the child was a great kid. The superintendent of schools, by the way, who's a United States citizen, but his name is Wilmer Chavaria. He himself was detained and interrogated for hours at a Houston airport on his way home from visiting family. He is a United States citizen. This is on top of the college freshman from Babson, who was 19 years old, I think, when she was abducted at Logan Airport on the way back to see her family at Thanksgiving, her family in Texas. So and all these cases are probably not legal. They probably shouldn't have been deported. In the Babson case, a federal judge said the kid could not be deported. Well, she was deported anyway, back to a country she's not been in since she was a 7-year-old child herself. This is what the United States of America is doing in the Trump regime.
In our name, I should say. This is our government who is doing this in our name. Well, I know this is shocking with the Trump administration. Recently, in his second physical of the year, Donald Trump had an MRI. And here's an exchange with a reporter on Air Force One about that MRI.
What part of your body was the MRI looking at? I have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark.
As faithful listeners of the show know, I have had so many MRIs that I was the first ballot inductee into the MRI Hall of Fame. And as such, trust me, when you're rolled into a casket-like technical device, you know what is being MRI'd. So after much public pressure, the White House doctor finally disclosed that it was of Trump's abdomen and his cardiovascular system that all was perfectly normal, or as Trump described, the best results ever in an MRI. Here's what Carolyn Levitt, his spokesperson, had to say about it.
The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal.
Okay, to which I will say two things. MRIs are not preventative. They're to take a look at a part of your body where health professionals have concerns. And as to the part about being perfectly normal, Marjorie, do you remember Dr. Harold Bornstein?
Yes, I do.
Okay, he was the hippie doctor who was Trump's personal physician for decades, who once wrote of candidate Trump, quote, "If elected, Mr. Trump, I can state unequivocally, will be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency." What was wrong with that note, Marjorie?
Trump wrote it himself.
Trump wrote it himself. So my point, Trump is clearly lying about not knowing about why he had an MRI, and his doctor could be lying in the great tradition of Trump doctors, lawyers, aides, press secretaries, relatives, and many others who lie on his behalf. And the point of this is I know this, we shouldn't hold our breath, but the American people are entitled to know what is wrong or not wrong with a person who is the leader of the country. There you have it.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We are done. Coming up after the 1 o'clock news, we're going to be talking with Lee Pelton from the Boston Foundation. He's going to tell us about some terrific new programs involving housing and some other efforts regarding our difficulties getting food if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of money. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Lee Pelton from the Boston Foundation is next.
Support independent local journalism. Gain a possible tax advantage and clear out your garage all in one when you donate your old vehicle to GBH this holiday season. Learn more at gbh.org/vehicle donation.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering PPO and HMO Medicare Advantage plans with a broad network of doctors and hospitals. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And the University of Massachusetts Amherst. UMass, the state's flagship public research university, empowers students to be the future in the pursuit of progress for Massachusetts and beyond. More at umass.edu.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, ahead on Hour 3 of BPR, partially live from the Boston Public Library. First up this hour, it's Boston Foundation President and CEO Lee Pelton. His organization has new numbers on the One Plus mortgage program, helping hundreds of families buy homes for the first time. We'll check in on affordability, college degrees, do people still want them, and more.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then we'll end our show with you. Oxford University Press is out with their 2025 Word of the Year. Goodbye, raw dog. Hello, rage bait. Defined as online content deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive. We'll open the phone and text lines. What you make of rage bait, and what's your word of the year? Mine, obviously, is shot put. We're next on the third hour at BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump convened his cabinet today and said his first year back in office has been a success. He says the economy is doing well, even as the recent general elections amplified affordability concerns among voters who decided to back Democrats over Republicans in key races.
They just say the word. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. Just say it. Affordability. I inherited the worst inflation in history. There was no affordability. Nobody could afford anything.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the inflation rate during the Biden administration peaked at 9.1% in June of 2022, the worst since the late 1970s, early 80s. By the time Joe Biden left office in January and Trump took over, the rate was down to 3%. An NPR investigation finds companies are charging veterans millions for help with VA disability claims. NPR's Quill Lawrence reports that's even after the VA has warned that it's probably illegal.
Filing a new claim for disability with the Department of Veterans Affairs can be complicated, and some veterans turn to for-profit companies to help. But it's illegal to charge veterans to file an initial claim. The loophole is that Congress removed the criminal penalties for breaking that law 20 years ago. Since then, an entire industry has grown, sometimes charging vets tens of thousands of dollars from their newly awarded benefits. An NPR investigation spoke with dozens of veterans who've used claims companies. While some vets said the service was worth it, many described charges for work they had to do themselves and being hounded by companies to pay up. Two competing bills in Congress aim to fix the loophole, but neither is expected to pass soon. Quill Lawrence, NPR News.
The nation's public health agency has lost a quarter to a third of its staff this year. The Trump administration is downsizing government agencies. NPR's Ping Wang reports that the cuts have left gaps in function at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Programs aimed at preventing cavities, car crashes, drownings, and shootings have halted. Workers who respond to nuclear emergencies or to virus outbreaks that can cause birth defects are gone. Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, a former CDC official who resigned in August, says the agency is in critical condition.
I keep calling CDC like a zombie because it's a zombie.
CDC employees who remain are appalled by statements on measles, vaccines, and autism, which don't reflect the agency's scientific conclusions but have shown up on the website anyway. A spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services says the changes are part of sustained reforms focused on returning CDC to its core mission. Ping Huang, NPR News.
U.S. stocks are trading higher this hour. The Dow is up 120 points. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Congresswoman Lori Trahan is behind a new bipartisan push in Congress to set national standards for college athletes who get paid for the fame and notoriety that they gain by playing sports. The Eagle Tribune reports the College Athletics Reform Act, which is being filed today in the House, calls for establishing new federal standards for so-called name, image, and likeness, or NIL rights, for college athletes and the agents that represent them, all while increasing revenue for schools and women's sports. And the parent company of Yankee Candle has announced that it's laying off some 900 people from its international workforce. Newell Brands said the cuts will affect approximately 10% of its employees, and layoffs in the U.S. are set to start this month. The company also said that it will close about 20 Yankee Candle stores in the U.S. and Canada in January, but it did not specify which Yankee Candle stores would close up shop. There are currently 15 of them in Massachusetts, including storefronts in Natick, Braintree, Peabody, and in Somerville. And the area is playing host to a couple of summits today. First up, the Boston Biotech Summit, which features panel discussions among industry leaders on topics like capital flows, policy shifts, Boston's ecosystem. The other is the New England Energy Summit, which is being hosted by the New England Power Generators Association, and that's taking place at the Colonnade Hotel. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone at betterhelp.com/public.
Houston Brady, I am Marjorie Egan. Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. We are partially live from the Boston Public Library. Jim is broadcasting from home, powering through with his, I think his 6th or 7th COVID bout or whatever it is. It's a lot, Jim. You're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're going to be joined by the Mayor of Boston December 16th. She'll be here at the library from 1 to 2 taking our questions and yours. Hello again, Jim.
Hey there. We're joined now at the BPL desk by Lee Pelton. Lee is the president and CEO of the Boston Foundation, a member of GBH's Board of Trustees, previously serving as the 12th president of Emerson College. Hello, Lee Pelton.
Hello.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Well,
You too.
Well, you know what? So when I walked in today, and I saw the ticker that said, of course, mentioned the two of you, and then that you were hosting Ethan Hawke and Lee Pelton, and I thought, how honored he must be to be on the sticker with me. You know, it doesn't happen every day. I'm in high demand, you know.
Yeah, I know. Isn't he great, though? I don't know if you get to hear a little bit of him. He seems like such a good guy and centered for somebody that has such a great career in Hollywood.
Exactly.
But anyway.
By the way, he did say that he was thrilled to be on the same show as you were, but unfortunately we ran out of time, so we couldn't air that portion. But he's really sincere.
Right. So, Lee Pelton, we've taught you over and over again about the issue of wealth inequality. I know you're very into it and try to do a lot about it. So tell us about this this new path to ownership thing, this 1+ mortgage program, and what it means.
Well, several months ago, actually a couple of years ago, we created a program. It's called a racial equity program, wealth equity program. And the premise was pretty simple. That is to say, we wanted to provide home ownership, not based on race, but home ownership to lower income families as a way of, one, getting them into a home, but also as a way of creating equity growth during a 10-year period. And the idea was that if we could invest $25 million into 500 families to get into homes, we could create $155 million of equity growth over that 10-year period. And of course, as you know, the home equity is intergenerational. So this would impact not only the immediate family, but for generations to come. And so we created a table. I think there were at least 40 people around that table, from banks, other nonprofits, from housing organizations, from individuals, from other foundations, and so on. And together we designed this program. We are now at $18 million of our $25 million goal.
Wow.
We had an ante, and the kind governor added $9 million to that total, $5 million and $4 million over 2 fiscal years. And then we raised other dollars through our DAF holders and so on. So right now we've been able to get 255 families and individuals into homes who might not otherwise be able to do it. And I was looking at some data points recently, particularly, and one stuck out for me, that the average credit score of these families and individuals was 733.
That's good, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
So what it tells you, these are folks who have managed their finances extremely well, but did not have an annual income that allowed them to save money to pay for a down payment on a house. So we've been very pleased with this program. I'm very grateful to the governor for her support. Eastern Bank was also a significant contributor.
How'd you find these families?
Well, we're not, I say I'm not in the housing business. So we started out working with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. So we give them the money, they administered the dollars to families.
You know, Lee Pelton, my attitude about almost any program that is helping people who just need a leg up to get to a better place is there are 2 criteria by which I judge them. Is one, is it in and of itself succeeding? And this report that was done by your Boston indicators, I guess a year or so out, suggests that while there have been challenges, it is. But the second and most important thing to me is it replicable? Meaning, even if it's a wild success, can it be done again and again and again to increase numbers? Is this replicable, or is this a one and done kind of thing?
No, absolutely. And I hope that after we've achieved this goal of $25 million, that we'll seek to do it again, and others may wish to also participate. So it's easily replicable. Yeah.
You know, so on one hand, you have the good news is a couple of hundred families are finally first-time home buyers, and obviously that's going to have an impact, at least in their situation, in terms of, as you call it, generational wealth in their family. And then at the same time, we read a story in the Boston Globe, which I think was really well researched, about how the middle class is disappearing in Massachusetts. So I guess the question I'm left with, are efforts like yours and some efforts of the government and other nonprofits working fast enough to catch up to that middle class hollowing out that was described in the Globe, or is it a losing battle?
I'm an optimist, so I won't say that it's a losing battle, but it is as they say, a battle uphill. It is going to be a tough go. And what we're finding, and if you sort of read through all the news, it's all about affordability, and not just housing, but food costs, sending your kid to college, if you can do that. Childcare. Insane. Which in this state costs you anywhere between $27,000 to $30,000 a year for childcare. And so the pressure, particularly on those in the middle, is really hard and very difficult. I was reading a piece by Yvonne Howe, who said,
of Economic Affairs for the Commonwealth, who joined us at the library actually last year. But go ahead.
And what she said is, the state had spent a lot of its incentive dollars on technology, and high impact jobs and industries, but probably had not paid enough attention to the middle class and to the working class in terms of creating jobs for those folks. And I think that's probably true. And so the challenge will be how can the state, how can the Commonwealth adjust its sights on that group, because they are in dire needs. And you have families now. So let's see. What am I going to give up this week?
Yeah.
I'm going to give up some food this week so I can pay my electric bill. Am I going to not pay my rental, monthly rental bill so I can have food for my children? What am I going to do about, putting gasoline into my car, or transportation, or if I have childcare? And so we have this situation where people are just having to make really difficult decisions about how to live their lives and the lives of their children.
The story that was so distressing about the middle class disappearing in Massachusetts seemed to be that they interviewed people who had college degrees, they had advanced degrees. They had one woman, Alexa Arena, 35 years old. She had to move in with her parents, even though she has a master's degree and works as an assistant director.
They also all
at
had
BU.
decent incomes.
Yeah, they all had decent incomes, like $100,000, or they said the middle class in Massachusetts, 66 to a high of $200,000, which it seems like a lot of money, but it's not that much money if houses cost you like $800,000. Exactly. It's really distressing. And there's this other story that talks about how that because of the cost of construction, the tariff problems, all this zoning and permitting, that the governor hopes to reach this, whatever it is, 220,000 houses or something by 2030, if I'm getting that number right. It's probably not going to happen.
Right. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough.
We have the fifth highest housing in the country. Throw in San Diego, San Jose, San Francisco, and then one other.
San Diego, I think.
Yeah.
San Jose, San Francisco, San Diego, New York.
And New York, of course.
Yeah.
So in terms of the bad news, we started with good. As a former college president who spent a lot of your life in higher education, when you read the results of this new NBC News polling that shows almost 2/3 of registered voters say that a four-year college degree isn't worth the cost, and not only is that number stunning to me, but just 8 years ago, it was an even split. 49% said it was, 47% said it wasn't. What's your reaction as somebody who has 1 foot in the higher ed world in your life and 1 foot in the income and wealth equity world in your life, which that both touches? What's your reaction to that?
Well, I understand it. I mean, the cost of attending a college or university these days is just astronomical. And the prices, the cost continues to rise each and every year. I don't know what the future will hold, except it seems to me that it's impossible that we continue to have, over the long term, these substantial rises in tuition and other expenses that are associated with being in a college or university.
So what do you tell a kid, Lee, when a kid comes to you, and I'm sure they do, and says, I'm now in the midst of deciding, I don't have a lot of money, I don't want to burden my parents any more than I already have, I don't know what to do. How do you counsel them?
Well, it depends on what they want to do. And I think there are a lot of students who probably would be better off going to a technical, and I don't mean this in any demeaning way, because that's their decision, not mine, but going to a technical school or going to a 2-year school rather than a 4-year private school where, you're going to pay, $70,000, $80,000 a year at least out of pocket. Before scholarships and so on and so forth. And then I think there's another generation of young people who are really, they're part of the gig economy.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'm not going to it's not like my parents, and I'm going to go work at, whatever it is, manufacturing place, and I'm going to stay there for 35 years and then get a pension.
Yeah.
But it's more, sort of individualized and, jobs that are, again, are temporary, but also deeply satisfying for young people. So I'm not one to counsel individuals or families because the circumstances are all different. Kind of depends on what their, what their needs are. And I'm a guy that studied 19th century and 18th century English poetry.
I know.
So,
your parents must have been appalled. Weren't they upset about that?
No, they were happy I was in college.
Oh, they were happy you were in college. Okay. Yeah, I was with the English major is the surest way to poverty for the rest of your life.
Lee Pelton will never succeed with that degree. But one last thing about this, though, when you combine several things, the insane cost of a college education, as you described it a minute ago, the attack on higher ed by the highest profile person in the world, do we get to a point where, and maybe that we're there already, in the words of the discredited John Edwards, there are two Americas? Is that four-year colleges only for the wealthy elite in this country, and everybody else, even if they're not making a choice on the merits, has no choice but to not go to college? I mean, that's where we're headed, aren't we?
Yeah, there's some truth to that. But again, it's tempered by where you live.
Right.
This is less of an issue for someone who lives, say, a western or midwestern state or Kansas, where I grew up, than it is for someone who lives in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where you're surrounded by an abundance of riches in terms of colleges and options that you have. And so, and that's why you find there are a number of students who are migrating from places like the Commonwealth to other cities and other states where the cost of living is a lot less and where the cost of a higher education is a lot less.
I do remember, though, back to the terrible financial disaster of 2008, 2007, and 2008, that the people that were most hurt were people without college degrees. So I'm torn, because on the one hand, the story about the middle class disappearing in Massachusetts, this one woman, this 33-year-old public school music teacher from Dorchester is drowning in $123,000 in student debt. On the other hand, there was, now maybe it's different in 2026, but I do remember thinking that pay these enormous fees for my children to go to college because look what happened to these kids in 2008 who didn't. So I don't know what to think.
Well, the world has changed since then.
I
mean, higher education has changed since then. The cost of higher education has changed since then. The opportunities for jobs has changed significantly since then. So we're in this. I don't want to predict where we're going to be 10 years from now. That would be ridiculous, actually. But we are. It's really a very difficult, problematic time for young people these days who are thinking about what's after high school.
Well, you also, as these ads on TV point out, you can't get an AI plumber or an AI electrician.
That's right, you can't.
Or an AI for someone to build your house. So the trades and the skilled labor could be something that would be AI proof.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
Well, you never know. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. But
you might have a robot coming over to fix the pipes pretty soon. I hope not.
Yeah. So.
I hope
Lee,
not.
how is Giving Tuesday? Is that have any significant impact on large nonprofits like yours and small nonprofits like we heard from this morning?
Well, not on the Boston Foundation, but it may have an impact on other nonprofits. You have to remember that we're an organization, $2.4 billion in assets, but we're made up of donor advised funds.
Mm.
And so these are funds that people have given to us for their use or for our use. And so we don't have a Giving Tuesday at the Boston Foundation. It wouldn't really make any sense. But I think there are other nonprofit organizations where that's really very important. And I must tell you, I opened my email this morning. I had probably 200 emails.
Yeah.
I get a lot, but 200 in the morning, and 3/4 of them are about Giving Tuesday.
I know. You feel really guilty because you can't give to them all. Yeah, I got them on my phone all day long. I'm getting them right now.
Yeah, right. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's nonstop. It does make it easy.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think people have forgotten about, and we talked about this yesterday, Jim and I did on the show, that a lot of people that are the majority. Well, I don't know if it's a majority, but not a lot of people that get a SNAP are working full time.
74% in Massachusetts.
So it is a majority here in Massachusetts. Are working for companies that they make so their wages are so small that they qualify for SNAP. That includes Amazon, Mass General, Brigham. That really surprised me. Dollar Tree, Walmart, Uber, et cetera. But even though SNAP came back when the government went back together, SNAP is really impacted badly by this big, so-called Big Beautiful Bill, and it's going to keep being bad.
Yeah, and in 2028 it might disappear altogether, and the federal support may disappear altogether, and it will be placed on the responsibility to be on states. As you know, the last time I talked to you about SNAP benefits and food hunger, I try not to say food insecurity because that sounds so clinical, but we're really talking about people being hungry and going to bed hungry, and children going to bed hungry, and seniors, and so on. And in fact, I would challenge anybody listening, deliberately go hungry for a couple of weeks and 3 weeks and see what that's like. Cut back on your consumption on food. As one smart person said, when that's missing, it feels like what else matters. But try it. So it's not food insecurity. It's about people going hungry. So we, as part at the Boston Foundation, we had through our own resources had donated $2.1 million in support. $1 million of that went to the Greater Boston Food Bank, and then the rest of that went to food pantries and other organizations that provide food for families and individuals. And then on, I think it was October 30th, it was a Halloween weekend, the mayor and I and some others had a press conference where we announced this $2.1 million. And Boston Foundation was in partnership with the mayor. The mayor had donated $500,000 to that $2.1 million. And from Friday to Monday, we had raised $2.6 million.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's
in 3
great.
days.
That's great.
And subsequent to that, we've added another 1.4, 1.5. So, yeah, that's right. So we're at $6.2 billion now. It's $6.3 billion for that effort.
Can I just add one thing to that? And I mentioned this last time we talked about SNAP with you. What you're doing and what the city's doing is nothing short of spectacular, but people should not delude themselves into believing that even the most aggressive and generous fundraising by organizations like the Boston Foundation can ever come close to filling the hole that the Trump administration is creating in people's lives. So don't rest easy and say, Michelle Wu, Lee Pelton, they're dealing with it. They're dealing with the crisis on the margins and doing it brilliantly. Your words, not to go hungry. So.
We had a food crisis before the SNAP benefits were being threatened, and we will have a food crisis afterwards, no doubt about it.
Lee Pelton, it's good to see you.
Yeah,
as
thank you
always,
very
thanks
much,
so
Lee.
much.
We have been speaking with Lee Pelton, President and CEO of the Boston Foundation, member of GBH's Board of Trustees. He previously served as the 12th president of Emerson College. Lee, thanks again. Coming up after this quick break, the Oxford University Press word of the year is rage bait. No surprise there. Are you taking the bait and calling into the show to talk about it? We sure hope so. 877-301-8970. But what do we want to know, besides what you think about the word of the year, rage bait, and that's, stuff that gets you really upset online. What is your word of the year? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, live and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
In a 1-mile stretch of Houston, a Hindu temple, Vietnamese Buddhist center, a church, and a mosque all call each other neighbor.
That's what the United States is. We're a melting pot of a whole lot of different nationalities, of different religions, etc. I think this is just a microcosm of that.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly. How the Union Corridor presents a snapshot of interfaith harmony in Texas on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And American Repertory Theater with Wonder, a new musical for the whole family based on the best-selling book and beloved movie. This holiday season, Wonder celebrates the power of kindness. amrep.org. And MIT Federal Credit Union, offering a variety of certificate options to help members build emergency funds, plan for retirement, or save for the future. Learn more at mitfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA.
Welcome back to BPR. Jim Browder and Marjorie Egan. Marjorie is live at the library, and I appear to be on a television screen across from Marjorie. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're dedicating the last segment of today's show to a topic that has dominated much of the discourse this year, rage bait. Online content deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive. Rage bait is, quote, typically posted in order to increase traffic or engagement with a particular web page or social media account. Last year, we did this segment when the word of the year was brain rot, as in the mental state experienced after hours of doom scrolling and Netflix binging, etc. This time, I want to hear about the year of rage bait, maybe for you. And by the way, that is the word of the year, if it wasn't obvious that why we're bringing it up. Maybe for you, the biggest rage bait of the year has been the recent sordid tale that Marjorie loves of Olivia Nuzzi and RFK Jr. with salacious updates posted regularly on her ex's blog. There's really no shortage of examples. The social media accounts for almost every White House cabinet position post rage bait. Their entire political movement is based on it at this point. Big tech companies have been lining their pockets on rage baits for years. So we have a couple of things for you at 877-301-8970. The lines are open to tell us about the moments when you got rage baited yourself. But more broadly, beyond rage bait, which is the word of the year for, I don't know if it's Merriam-Webster or whatever, the online dictionary.
Oxford University Press.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We want to know what your personal word of the year is and why that word matters most to you. Could it be 6'7"? Could it be otherworldly that one of my favorite radio hosts uses all the time? The number's 877-301-8970. Now, let me say, I hesitate to say to Marjorie what I'm about to say is, what's your favorite word of the year? Because Marjorie's going to say, well, I don't know.
No.
You got one?
Well, people have texted and emailed our staff said that my word of the year should be shot put, because I've talked endlessly about Harriet Heinemann, the heartthrob of Jim in 7th grade, who was a shot putter. But that's not really.
What is your word?
Well, slimy. I feel like we're living in a very slimy time in the United States of America. We have a slimy president. We have a slimy Pete Hegseth running the Pentagon. We have slimy people in Congress. It's a slimy bunch of people.
Do you ever use that word, though?
No, but I was thinking about it. Probably I never don't use it, but it seems to me to sum up the times that we're in. I mean. Well, go ahead.
My two favorite words have something in common with yours. Well, the one thing they have different from you is I use them all the time. But what they have in common with yours, what's the word when a word sounds exactly like what it means?
Onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. Slimy sounds like slimy, does it not?
Yeah, it does.
My two favorite words that I do use quite regularly, number one, without a close second, is odious. Is there any word that better
Odious
describes
is a great word.
someone who is repulsive or...
It's a great word.
Odious. And the second one, that is a distant second, but I've always really liked, is puerile.
Oh.
Puerile means like childish, and it's a really, and childish not necessarily in a nice
That's
way.
not a good one, Jim.
But don't they both sound...
Puerile makes it sound like you came from Cambridge.
Well, maybe
Yeah, I
so.
think it
Okay,
does.
let's go back to odious for a second. Odious is my favorite. We want to know what your favorite word is. And if you've been rage baited and you want to share with us what has got you rage baited, feel free to do that too.
As one of the texters says that Jim is broadcasting live, in fact, from Cambridge's red light district. Actually, he's not. He's in his bedroom, the boudoir, inspired by...
It's not a bedroom. Excuse me, it's an office.
Okay,
a little tiny office.
It's bright red, and it is apparently inspired, we did not know this until today, by Melanie Rose's Netflix hit, How to Build a Sex Room. And Jim is broadcasting from his in-construction sex room over there in Cambridge. I didn't know you knew about Melanie Rose or the Red Bedroom, but apparently...
Can I tell you something?
Jim, you do.
Nobody knows who Melanie Rose is except for you. Who the hell is she?
Maddie, she's a big star on Netflix, and she's starring in the show How to Build a Sex Room, and the room is red, just like your room right there. Maybe we could, there it is, there's Melanie right there, How to Build a Sex Room. It's not quite as red as your room because it's on a different screen, but let me tell you, this is where you got the idea, Jim. It's nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be ashamed of, don't worry about it.
Damn it, I just tripped over the handcuffs too. So let's keep you know, there's certain, by the way, if you've been listening to the show for years, I assume you're aware that Marjorie sinks her teeth into a little tiny thing, and she can't let go.
That's
and
right.
The sex room,
like a pit bull,
is going to stay with her as long as I'm broadcasting from home.
Okay,
we want to know what your favorite word is. I am so happy with mine. And even though I use otherworldly far too much, it's not my favorite word. I'd like to drop it from my vocabulary. But odious describes odious things better than any word in the English language.
Okay, Derek, our security guard, says his word this year is gaslighting. And that's a
good
great
one. That's
word
a great
because
one,
we are
actually.
being gaslit morning, noon, and night. Let's go to Steve in Wakefield. What do you think, Steve?
Hello, Steve.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
We're good.
What's your word?
Long-time listener. My word is, it's really for me, but it's my word of the year, and it's my life. My first grandson started talking this year, and he calls me Gumps.
Gumps.
My word of the year is Gumps. No word has ever given me such joy.
That's a
that
good
is
one.
a beautiful.
That is a very
we didn't
sweet
expect
one.
that. That is great.
Yeah,
that is really great.
That is lovely.
What do your grandkids call you, by the way? I don't even know.
Well, it was supposed to be Emmy because it's takeoff on my name. People used to call me Em when I was a kid, but it turned into
I didn't know that.
It turned into Mimi, which, is okay. But you're not going to argue with your grandchildren about what
You better
they
be
call
nice.
you.
That's my older daughter's name,
Yeah,
so be kind.
Mimi. Yeah, apparently that's big in the grandmother world these days. Mimi. I didn't
So
know
they
that.
both call you Mimi?
Well, one of them doesn't call me anything. He's only a year old. Jim.
Okay, fine.
He's
okay.
still working on Mama, Papa.
Okay,
you know
got
what I
it.
mean?
Okay, fine.
Steve. We already had Steve from Wakefield. Joel in Connecticut says Jim's rage bait synonyms: Harriet, shot put, and daylight savings.
It's daylight saving, but who
daylight
cares?
saving. Well, he said daylight savings with
Well,
a
I'm
plural.
telling you, it's
So
wrong.
we're going to quote him. Oh, here's a good one. Anonymous actually says mine is East Wing. How about that one?
That's
Well, there's
two
always.
words.
How do you spell that? Can you see the?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means either. Is that hoogie? Hoogie, the thing you say all the time?
Hooga.
Hooga.
Well, that's not an
Hooga.
English word.
What
Hooga.
is hooga?
Hooga is one of those Nordic countries where I think you evolve into a state of, isn't it relaxation?
Comfort and warmth and security. I think that's it. I think that's it.
Hygge.
Hygge.
That's how it's
Say it again?
Hygge. You have to put your tongue in the upper part of your mouth and go hygge.
Okay, hygge.
It's actually in the lower part of your mouth.
My word for this year is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, because that's what you say when you don't know what to say, and I'm really out of words to describe this year. That's a good one.
What movie was that from, that song?
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Very good, Martin.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Remember that?
I do indeed. That's why I asked.
Mary Poppins. Okay.
877-301-8970. What's
Josh
your favorite
in
word?
Waltham. Thank you for
Hey,
calling.
Josh. Hey, Josh.
Hello, Jim and Marjorie.
Hi.
It sounds like you're having like a COVID symptom when you go Hugo.
That's pretty good, Josh.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I hope you feel better, Jim.
Thank you.
I was kind of, I guess, take inspiration from Marjorie's word slimy, even though it's not like a word that's been used often this year. I love Andrea Cabral's description of the president as a malignant narcissist. I just feel like that nailed
that's a good one.
And it's like, that's like the word or the term of the decade, honestly.
That's a good one. That's a good one. A lot of people, thank you for the call, Josh.
Thanks,
a lot
Josh.
of people
Good
are
to talk
mentioning gas lighting. Oh, we can't use it on air. I think we can. It was last year's big word.
We said it. Jamie said we said it.
Yeah.
You say it.
Enshittification.
Right, that was a word.
Yeah, that was a word that they said.
And what did that
was-
mean?
I think it meant to be enmeshed in this
A lot
bad,
of crap everywhere you look.
Exactly. Carl's with Seattle here. My favorite 2012 word is capitulation, which describes 2025 politics perfectly. That's a great point, because there has been, you know, it's been so depressing this year. You always say, what's a great thing about money? Well, money buys you freedom, right? That you can do what you want when you have all that money. You know, don't worry about all these things. And yet the people with the most money in the world, practically, like
totally
Jeff
right.
Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg billionaires many times over, but their money has bought them no freedom. They're just capitulating to beat the band. And you think how depressing that is. Or these big-time law firms like Paul Weiss, that was one of the first ones to capitulate to Donald Trump. And those people are making big bucks, millions of dollars, but they didn't have the freedom to say, well, maybe this year we'll make a few $100,000 less because we've got so many millions in the bank. That's a great one, Carla from Seattle. Thank you very much.
By the way, I meant to tell you this. I was going to surprise you. If we promised that we'd be respectful, and in return, Paul Weiss agreed to come on the show. So he's going to be with us. No, I'm serious. He's going to be with us next week. By the way, this is the best one. I should have thought of this, and I love saying this word. When it crosses my lips, it feels good. An anonymous texter says grift. It explains everything the government is doing this year.
That's a good one.
There are certain words that beyond that onomatopoeia thing, which sound like what they mean, that feel good as they leave your mouth. And I feel grifting clearly falls into that
is a
category,
good one.
no?
Reg from Needham says, my word since Trump and his sewer creatures surfaced is vile. Valerie from Rhode Island says, my word of the year
Vile
is
good.
It's several words. Release the Epstein files. Oh, Kathleen from North Brookfield says, I'll see your slimy and raise you to smarmy. That's a good one.
Smarmy is a fabulous word.
Smarmy. That's a great word.
That is a fabulous
word. Yeah, that's a great word.
You know what we should have done that we're not doing today? Next time we do a word thing, we should have people look at the derivation, like in the Oxford Dictionary, because where these come from, particularly words that end, I know what you're laughing about, you can tell people in a minute, particularly words that sound like what, well, go ahead, just go ahead.
Anonymous texter says, Jim looks like the Great Oz on the large screen monitor.
Can we get that up there?
Is the picture of the Wizard of Oz from when Dorothy pulled back the curtain there before she went back home to Kansas and saw that he was a fake person behind the curtain. Could that be you, Jim, as well?
Well, by the way, do you know the follow-up to The Wizard is going to be The Wiz and his sex room? Do you know that? It's huge. Thank you.
No, Jim didn't expect to be broadcasting from home this week, and so I think he didn't want us to see his red room. But
I have nothing to hide.
Now we know, and it's in construction. It's not finished yet, but it is an inspiration, as we said, from Melanie Rose's Netflix hit, How to Build a Sex Room.
By the way, we should be aware that Marjorie, not only did most people have no idea who Melanie Rose is, Marjorie doesn't know who Melanie Rose is.
I do now.
Is that true?
I do now. She's a builder of sex rooms on Netflix.
Okay.
That's who she is.
877-301-8970. You know what my favorite word from Trump 1.0 was?
What?
That he never, ever, ever uses again. And I originally thought it was not a word until I looked it up. Bigly.
Bigly.
Don't you remember that he used to say bigly all the time? Why do you think he stopped?
I don't know. But now he says, "You never seen anything like it. Never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Like
Bigger
his
than anybody's
MRI.
ever seen." Yeah, it's always the biggest, the grandest, the most powerful.
We
that
have
kind
the
of stuff.
photo of the Oz
Oh, there we go.
thing that looks very
Okay.
much like the photo of me, apparently, which we'll now
We're
post
going to put it up. We
on the
think
streaming.
soon. I'm not sure what the first name is.
We'll give it a go.
I don't think this is really a name. But anyway, I think it must. I don't know. But anyway,
Well,
the
you're
person
doing
is
a good
from,
job
the
reading
person
it.
is from Maynard. Demetra from Maynard. They changed it for me.
Hi,
Demetra.
Hi, Demetra. How are you?
Hi. Long time. Love your show.
Thank you.
The word I really love, because I hate people who are it, is craven.
Craven's a great one.
Yeah, it just sounds good saying it, and it's like you look right down your nose at the entire Republican Party when you say it.
Yeah, that's a great one, Demetra. Thank you for that. And Jason has got one that we've heard a million times.
What's that?
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
That has been vastly overused in every news report. I'm sick of it. It's true. We say unprecedented.
It's true.
Maybe we
It is
just
true.
switch to illegal and against the law. Jay from Brighton says, "Wait until Ryan Landry hears about Jim's sex room."
By the way, he knows everything about it. Let's leave it at that. You know.
Really?
Well, I mean,
Really?
there it is. Okay, fine.
It does.
Actually, he does look a little bit like me. Let's have that again.
Let's see that again.
A
There
split
you are.
screen. Okay, there it is.
Oh my goodness.
Do you ever question why that gives you such pleasure,
I don't
Marjorie?
know.
I mean, really? Really,
I
what
don't
is
know.
it? I mean, you got
don't
to
know.
examine yourself for
I
a
find
second.
you endlessly entertaining, Jim.
Thank
Let's just
you. I
put it
really
that way.
appreciate it.
Lou in the car. Thank you for calling,
Hello,
Lou.
Lou in the car.
How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good. It's long time, second time.
Thank you.
So there are two words I love that apply to any number of people in the Trump administration. One of them is reptilian.
Reptilian.
That's an excellent word. Go ahead.
Slithering across
And
the
the other-
floor.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And the other one is oleaginous.
Oh, great one.
What does that mean? Like greasy?
Yeah, like butter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slimy,
Yeah.
slippery.
That's good.
Yeah.
But do you ever use those words? Do you use them?
Once in a while, yes.
I could
Especially
start
when
using.
I'm talking about somebody like Stephen Miller.
Yeah, I could. By the way, you want to make your holiday season fabulous? I don't know the name of the caller. What's the name of the caller, please?
The name of the caller is Lou in the car.
Hey, Lou, have you seen the interview on CNN the other night with Stephen Miller's uncle?
Oh, no.
Google it. It is. It talks about what a disgrace he considers his nephew's position on immigrants, and it is really, it's heartwarmingly beautiful and courageous by a relative of the odious Stephen Miller. So check it out. And Lou, thanks, sir. Reptilian I could use in a sentence.
Reptilian
I like
is
that.
great. It's a great word.
Now, can we go back to the original Oxford word that inspired us to do this? Rage baiting. Here's actress Jennifer Lawrence revealing that, I love this. She has a secret, I hope this is true, a secret TikTok account she uses to, quote, get in fights with strangers online. Here she is admitting to that in a recent promotional interview. That was excellent. That was really,
it's
she
frozen.
she never sounded better.
The
She
machine
never
is
sounded
frozen.
better.
You want to say what she said?
I have like a secret life on TikTok. I get in fights on TikTok. It got really intense when I started commenting on like the royal family. A lot of people just did not know that the Mountbattens, Queen Elizabeth II, is married to her first cousin. It just is. That's just a fact. Anyway, that kind of started this whole, I guess I rage bait on TikTok.
It sounds like she means that. How much do you love that? Isn't that great?
When you look at the comments on stories, even like local stories in the Boston Globe, people are enraged back and forth. They yell and scream at each other. They're not literally because they're writing it, but people go back and forth in the comments, fighting with each other. I mean, I guess they take out some steam or some aggravation, but it seems like I don't get it. It's not something, I don't want to get all revved up like that. I get revved up enough as it is having to read all this stuff. What?
You know what's hard, you know what's really depressing?
What's depressing,
Is that
Jim?
every single word that we've heard, except from the first caller, who is proudly describing what his grandchild calls him. What was it, Gumps, I think?
Gumps, yeah, that was very cute.
Every single word relates to Donald Trump. And to use an expression you use many times, to say that he is in our brain 24/7 is it's just unbelievable. Think about it. Reptilian, odious, slimy, every single one of these things relates to Trump being this nonstop invasive presence in our lives.
Someone just texted atrocious that they think is an
I like that word.
word. The word for my wife and me, says another texter, is sanctimonious. The reason we love it so much is
like
many
that
years
too.
ago my wife got mad at me and said, "You think you're so sanctimonious." I think that's not the way to use it, which makes absolutely no sense because nobody thinks they're sanctimonious. On the other hand, it does make sense, and it made us laugh for years.
You know what's a good word, by the way, that I
What?
should have included? I never used this once in a sentence. And I'm going to quiz you and ask you which of our guests was the first person to ever use it on our show, the word virtue signaling. Do you remember who it was?
Charlie Baker.
Charlie Baker. When you asked him a question about riding the T,
Yeah.
and he talked about how he rode the T a lot before he was governor, and he wasn't going to do it just to virtual signal. Had you ever heard the word before?
No, I don't think
Nor
I ever
had I.
had heard the word. But he was ahead of it, I guess, on that.
Now, an anonymous texter says, I can't believe Marjorie hasn't read this. Isn't Jim reptilian when he slithers around Cambridge on his days off?
Yeah.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
Oh, a lot of people think you look just like the Great Oz, Jim.
That's
Just want to
great.
let you know they're
Makes me
they're
really
very
happy. It
big.
makes
big
Marjorie
that.
really happy.
Yeah. Exhausted, another person says. That is how I feel, exhausted. Oh, Judy and Danforth says, I hate autocorrect.
The word
I guess so.
or autocorrect in general?
Maybe it's autocorrect in general.
Do you know where the most famous use of the word exhausted comes from?
No.
Neil Rudenstein was president
Oh,
of
yes.
Harvard, and he was on the cover of Newsweek, which was then a hard copy magazine, and there was a banner headline, I think across his face, on the front cover, which had the words in bold letters, exhausted, about President Rudenstein.
Yeah. I said scurrilous already. I said
No, you didn't. Scurrilous is great.
Unprecedented. Yep. And that several people are admitting enshittification, where products and services get gradually and persistently worse every year. That's what I guess it means. My words are Trump apocalypse because when I ask people how they're doing, I often add, besides the Trump apocalypse, how are you doing? And I think that
Well, that has nothing to do with our topic at hand, but I have to say to you, I have the exact same experience. When I text someone I haven't seen in a while or email them or respond, I always say, I hope you're doing well. Don't you almost always feel like you have to do a parenthetical included there?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are very, obviously very depressed. I mean, you look at the numbers, 60% are in disagreement with him over a lot of his policies, and I think people feel as though what is our? When you think about, like I said before, we just put a 7-year-old in a lockup facility in Texas, miles and miles from the little boy's family.
Here's a great one. I wish I had picked this. Harvey watching on YouTube. This is near and dear to my heart. For me, it has to be Piggy. For the leader of the free world to use this over and over to remind us of how odious and purple a person he is. There's a great compilation on TikTok of, I think it's 17 recent examples of Trump treating a woman reporter in the most disparaging, demeaning way. And it really, it's worth searching for. It's horrible.
Here's some more people have offered kleptocracy.
That's a good
Talking
one.
about the Trump administration. Cult, because that is what is
That's a good
breaking
one.
our
Yeah.
democracy. I'm looking for, just plain old greed. Venal, that's another one.
So here's an anonymous texter. It's not a very interesting word, but I find myself saying unbelievable a lot this year. Also, before she even said, I was going to say Marjorie's word of the year, of course, is Paul Weiss, which it was.
That's right.
For those who were not tuned in, when Paul Weiss was one of the first firms to capitulate, could you explain to people why we made fun of you around Paul Weiss?
Why you made fun of me? Because I said his name wrong. I thought he was a real person. I thought Paul Weiss was an actual person. That was the name of the law firm. And
right, it was one person was Paul and one person was Weiss.
I thought it was Mr. Weiss. Hi, Paul, Mr. Weiss. But I was wrong.
And I think
Wouldn't
they're
be
both
the first
dead.
time. Yeah, they might.
Or like Frederick Douglass, they're doing a great job. So there you go.
Okay, my rage-based word is honestly. So many politicians start every sentence with that word, and it drives me crazy. Honestly, frankly, as in, what's the opposite? I'm being dishonest, and I'm not.
No, the impact of that is, ordinarily I'd lie to you, but I want you to know that I theoretically am being honest with you now.
Yeah.
It is despicable. That's another
weird.
good word, by the way.
Brainworm is from Jane Brain.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I can't get over the fact that this is not like a bigger deal, this RFK.
Which?
Well, RFK Jr., who's telling everybody these terrible things about vaccinations, and he's caught in this really kind of sleazy situation with Olivia Nuzzi, writing her these kind of creepy poems, and it's as if kind of our sense of shame has gone right out the window. I mean, like I said, Bill
obviously
Clinton.
Our sense of shame has gone right out the window.
It has gone right out the window. And no one seems to think this is a problem. Nobody thinks that there should be some sanction for running HHS, and this is what he's doing.
Marjorie.
What?
The American people voted for a felonious sex abuser to be president of the United States. So,
yeah.
I mean, when was the point at which you thought shame still mattered? It just doesn't,
Verboten is my favorite word of the year. Verboten. Rent-free. That's the word I've been using a lot this year in response to rage baiting. I try to keep the negativity of social media from living in my mind. Rent-free. And that's one of the expressions people have about Trump, is that Trump is living in people's minds, millions of people's minds. Trump-free. Betty from Cape Cod says her word, rent-free.
Thank you.
Betty from Cape Cod says her word is abhorrent.
Oh, that's a great one. I love abhorrent.
Okay, Peter on the North Shore says vile, loathsome, pedophile, traitor, corrupt, felon, Putin puppet. He's got a whole bunch of them. Izzy and Worcester, thanks for calling.
The show's over, but that's nice talking to.
Oh, sorry.
Izzy, you have 10 seconds. Marjorie doesn't understand the clock. Go ahead. 10 seconds. Nice talking to you.
Hi.
Call us again. 10 seconds.
Hi, I love you both, and my word is Docious L-E-X-B is Dick Bradley Kelly Rufus. That's for Marjorie.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Izzy.
Nice.
And we're sorry to rush you, but our show is indeed over. Are we going to be joined by Jared today, or what?
Yeah, he's right there. That's why.
That's
who Jared
we couldn't see Jared on Zoom because Jim is taking up so much space.
What's the Wizard of Oz to you?
The Wizard of Oz. In his red room, which is, do you know about this, Jared? You may not know that Jim is inspired with the red room there by Melanie Rose's Netflix hit, How to Build a Sex Room, which is, of course, a big red room. And there he is.
I don't even know what to say.
Notice he's speechless.
I have to do a show right now. I gotta go.
Thank you. Okay, what's your favorite word of the year, Jared Bowen?
Well, mine, I think, is a variation of yours. Hideous.
Hideous is up there. That's another word that really expresses
that's a good
exactly
one.
a feeling.
That's a
I
good
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
What are you doing on the show, Jared Bowen?
So we're going to be talking, this is the 40th, it's hard to believe this, almost the 40th anniversary of Stand By Me, that great film.
Oh, God, do I love
the
Stand
kids.
By Me.
Well, of
Who's
course,
on?
So the kids are no longer kids. Jerry O'Connell is a full-grown adult. He'll be joining us on the show.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's great.
He'll talk about memories of the movies and whatnot. And then Joyce Kilhaywick is here. She has her roundup. Of course, this is a busy time with all the holiday fare, the Oscar contenders. She'll go over the movies and plays to see right now. And then our colleague Brian McCreath is here for Illuminate Bach, a holiday celebration. We'll go through the Bach cantatas, all written for Christmas in the 1700s.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
What a great show.
Wasn't Ethan, you're going to do the Ethan Hawke thing tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
At the Coolidge Corner Theater.
I'm very excited about this and going through all his. What an extraordinary actor he is.
Oh my God!
And what a wonderful
incredible.
guy. We just interviewed him, and I just love him. He's so down to earth and normal.
So nice.
Don't you think? Okay, Jared.
Bye.
Before I have to talk about the interior decorating of Jim's house, I'm gonna go. Bye-bye.
I would if I were you. It's my good move.
Jim.
See ya.
Good luck over there this afternoon in the Red Room.
Oh my God.
Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Thanks to everybody who came down to see the show at the Boston Public Library. Really appreciate it. You keep up with us 24/7 by way of our
Hold
podcast.
on 1 second. Melanie, I'll be done in 2 minutes. Be patient. 2 minutes.
Yeah, we think you're going to be back tomorrow. You're going to be back tomorrow?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find out. Otherwise, it's back to the Red Room. Our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio is really clever. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be here, at least I will be. The Culture Show's Jared Bowen is going to join us. Harvard national security expert Juliet Kime is going to join us. Imari Paris Jeffries of Embrace Boston. The Reverend Jay Williams with a sneak preview of the big MLK 2026 Day plans, and Evan Horowitz with Center for State Policy Analysis at Tufts. He's going to tell us all about the ballot questions that are going to be on the ballot, obviously, in Massachusetts. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our engineer, John the Claw Parker, our executive producer, Jane Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff, Maddie Geyer, who discovered Melanie Ross's Netflix hit, How to Build a Sex Room, Patrick Lally, Juan Jose Cadena. Thanks to our host of the Newsfeed Cafe across the street at the Lenox Hotel. Jared's Culture Show is right after us with Jared Bowen, of course. Right after us, I just said that, on 89.7 GPH. Jim, have a great afternoon.
Yeah, very childish, Marjorie, really. Really childish.
I'm
See you
Marjorie
tomorrow.
Egan.
Bye, Jim
Bye.
Browdy. See ya.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show. Next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Boston Pops with Holiday Pops performances December 4th through 24th. The festive cheer continues with Elf in Concert, A Charlie Brown Christmas Live, and New Year's Eve with Seth MacFarlane. More at bostonpops.org.
Chef Lydia Bastianich highlights communities coming together in times of need, including selfless acts that foster connection and fulfillment. Don't miss Lydia Celebrates America, tonight at 9 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Stand By Me, the film that followed four boys down the railroad tracks and straight into movie history, turns 40. Actor Jerry O'Connell joins us to talk about playing Vern and what it's like to reconnect with his castmates on a nationwide anniversary tour that's coming to Lynn this weekend. Then it's time for Stage and Screen with Joyce Haywick. She's here with a roundup of the plays and movies to see right now, from Fun Home, the Tony-winning musical about growing up in a funeral home, to Hamnet on the big screen. The Oscar contender imagines Shakespeare's home life, the death of his young son, and how grief shapes art and legacy. And we'll have a preview of Illuminate Bach, a holiday celebration. GBH Music is kicking off a new holiday tradition with a program of Bach performed by Emmanuel Music. CRB's Brian McCreath joins us for this Bach and all. That's all right now on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
The indelible coming-of-age film about four boys and their late summer odyssey charting the seas of friendship, adventure, and real-world intrusions is turning 40. The film and its young stars have left an enduring mark on the public consciousness. To commemorate its anniversary, Stand By Me, the film and its stars 40 years later, takes place at Lynn Memorial Auditorium on Saturday, December 6th. There will be a screening, followed by a conversation with stars Corey Feldman, Will Wheaton, and Jerry O'Connell. Joining us to talk about it all is Jerry O'Connell, the actor and television host who starred in the film as Vern, the earnest and bright-eyed member of the group. Jerry O'Connell, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
It's so fun to be here. I'm so excited to come up and do this. The really fun thing for me is I've seen Stand By Me a few times since it came out 40 years ago, but I haven't seen it in a theater with other people. I've seen it on television. So this is the last time I saw it in a theater with people. I was with my grandparents in 1986, and we went to the matinee. It was completely empty. It was just my grandparents and I, because they came to filming with me, so they wanted to see it too. And we saw the movie, empty theater. We were walking out, and the lady who sold us our tickets went, "Hey, you were in that movie, right?" I said, "Yeah." My grandparents are like, "Yeah, we were there for the shooting and everything." And she gave us, it was by the way, my grandparents were senior citizens, so I'm sure they paid a discounted rate, and also it was a matinee, so I think it was like tickets were like $2 back then. And the ticket lady said, movie stars don't have to pay. And she gave us back our $6. And my grandfather, like anytime anybody talked about Stand By Me and my grandfather was there, he would go, hey, we didn't pay when we went to see it. They gave us our money back. So this is going to be real exciting for me.
Well, you must, even without having seen it in a theater with other people, you must, of course, have a sense of the hold it has over people. So what do you expect will be the experience to see it in a theater full of people who just so love this story, the film, and you all?
First of all, I think it's going to be very emotional because tragically, River Phoenix is no longer with us. He's such a part of it. It's going to be emotional, hopefully it will be sort of a reminder of what is possible in movie making, and it's funny, it really makes me reflect on what the process was when we were there and doing it. And so really what I'm going to try and do is really piece together, especially with my co-stars Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman, what the process was. Why was this such a good movie? Why is this such a good movie? Why aren't they able to recreate it? And it's so funny. Every couple years, there's a film festival, and there's some sort of young people thing, or there's a TV show, and they all say, hey, man, it's the next Stand By Me. And my ears do perk up, and I go, let me check this out. Let me see if this is the next Stand By Me. And it just isn't. And I want to sort of like see if we can piece together why are we doing a tour of this movie 40 years later? What was different?
Well, do you have a sense of, before you piece it together, as you think back to what you were all doing on set in Oregon? I assume it was over the summer because of the way it looks. Do you have a sense of what just came together there with the people involved and how the work unfolded?
It's funny getting ready for this tour because we're not only coming to Massachusetts, we're doing the whole Northeast. I think we're doing I think we have 9 dates so far. It sort of made me reflective about my relationship with the movie because it's interesting. You sort of, especially in Hollywood, you don't want to just like talk about, I was the guy in Stand By Me. That's sort of my thing. You want to sort of think about like what your next job is, and it's funny. It's made me very reflective about just how I when we filmed Stand By Me, I really needed that at that time in my life. I was 11 years old. I was not a bad kid. I was not, doing drugs or in a gang, but I was, I think they called it back then hyperactivity. That was the term in the 80s. And I was always getting in trouble. And I remember my mother always saying, like, just shut up and sit on your hands. Like, why are you always talking? Like, sit on your hands and shut up. That was like something that was a mantra I had when I was when I was a boy. And I remember going on the set of Stand By Me and early on doing a scene and Rob Reiner, our director, yelling, cut, and saying, hey, Jerry, yelling across the set and being like, oh, God, here it comes. Shut up and sit on your hands. Like I was probably doing something crazy in the scene. And he went, Jerry, that's what I'm talking about right there. More of that. Come on, man. Go, go, go. You see that, fellas? And it really... It's really what I needed in my life. You feel so out of place up until you get on a movie set. So it's going to be emotional for me too.
Well,
Sorry it took me 15 minutes to answer that.
This is why we're NPR, because we can give you 15 minutes to answer. But what was it to be with this group of people? It's almost like summer camp or something where you're taken out of all your school friends and all the school dynamics, and then you get to make a different group of friends where you all have a similar interest. In your case, it was all you were making a film. Did you all come together and bond in making it?
For sure. I mean, the theme of the movie is you never have friends like you did when you were 12. And it's it's family. Myself, Will Wheaton, and Corey Feldman have a bond that isn't just your buddies that you text with. It's not just coworkers that you share a WhatsApp chat with. This is family. We're also like going to be carpooling from like town to town. So
oh wow,
I don't know. You remember like Stand By Me 2 happening here. The three of us. It'll be great. We'll be sharing motel rooms. We're going to really get to know each other.
That is fascinating.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, for people just tuning in, by the way, I'm speaking with Jerry O'Connell. We are talking about his upcoming event at Lynn Memorial Auditorium on Saturday, December 6th. That's Stand By Me, the film and its stars 40 years later. I didn't understand this, that you had just done a commercial prior to this. So this was your first major acting role.
Totally. I went to a big open call, what they call a cattle call. And I got a call back. And I'm from New York City. My mother, who I love my parents, but my mother, grew up. This is like the 70s and 80s in New York. My mother immediately thought it was some sort of scam, and was telling me that they're going to take money for pictures. She knows how this goes, and we're going to get scammed. My mom worked with a woman who was scammed. So my mom went with me to the second audition. My mom said, okay, this is all above board. And I did that audition. And then I got a call back to meet Rob Reiner. And my mom was like, holy crap, you're going to meet, this is the guy from All in the Family. You know that show we watch? This is the All in the Family. So it's really funny. There was a guy named, an actor who lived on my street in New York named Blake Brocksmith. Very nice guy. He was in the Flamingo Kid. He was very famous on our street. By the way, I tried to look up that movie. Sort of similar themes, sort of coming of age. Can't find it streaming anywhere. Really interesting. I guess we'll do a tour of the Flamingo Kid next. Yeah. But he worked on the lines with me. He worked on the sides with me for about a week. And my mom gave him some money, and he really taught me how to audition. He was like, listen, when you go in, you have to do this fight scene. Don't talk to the other actor until you get in there. And then when you fight, like really explode on them. And I remember I walked into the audition and I saw Rob Reiner. And in my head, in my childhood, in my childlike brain, I thought I was going to meet Carol O'Connor. I thought I was going to meet, because my mom kept saying, Archie Bunker, All in the Family. And so I thought I was meeting Archie Bunker. And I walk in there and I saw Rob Reiner and I went, oh, wow. You're not, nothing. And he went, what? And I went, no. I thought you were somebody else. And he went, well, who did you think I was? And I was like, I thought I was coming to meet Archie Bunker. Sorry, it was my bad. And he and his coworkers, like they still tell that story, and they thought it was just such a, like, it's just funny when you don't know what you're doing in auditions. That's when you really book role. Now that I know what I'm doing, I never book roles anymore. But back then, imagine how funny that was. An 11-year-old kid coming in the room and going, oh wow. And I go, what? Sorry, I thought I was meeting Archie Bunker. And it's not a bit. I'm doing it as an 11-year-old kid, and they got a big laugh out of it. And he said that was it was just such a natural moment in the room.
Well, it speaks certainly well of him that he wouldn't take it as an affront, and you probably landed you the role because he appreciated your audacity.
He was so great working with Rob Reiner. Sorry, I'm interrupting, but I've directed a little bit. Some kids. I did a Disney Channel show called Andy Mack. I was directing that, and it's mostly kids, and I really enjoyed it because I had experience on Stand By Me, and really a big reason why that movie worked so much is because Rob Reiner was able to talk to, I was 11 and the other kids were like 14 to 15, 16. He was really able to talk to us and get performances out of us. And I remember one of my early days on set. I had never been on a set before. I'd never been on a movie set. There's a scene where the junkyard, the guy who owns the junkyard is yelling at us, and then Corey Feldman's character gets into a fight with the guy who owns the junkyard. And I was standing there in the back of the scene, and they were doing what's called a master. So it's like a wide shot of a scene. And Rob Reiner yelled cut and came over to me and said, "Hey man, Jerry, what are you doing?" And I went, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Like, you're not reacting to anything that's happening in the scene." And I said, "Well, this is so funny." Again, 11-year-old mind. I said, "Well, I don't have any lines. I don't have any lines in the scene." And he went, "Well, that doesn't matter. You're in the scene. Like, you're as important as the people who have all the lines. I could play this whole scene on your face. Like, how would you react if a fight was happening? What would you do? Wouldn't you be scared? Would you want to jump in? Like, make the decision. You're just as important as the people saying the lines. I need you to always be on, always be in the scene. Listen and react. That's what this is about." And I swear to you, Jared, a light bulb went off in my head. I mean, I realize this is the mind of an 11-year-old, sorry, but like a light bulb went off in my head, and literally, like, I am going to tell this story through my body. And so I'm directing this show, Andy Mack, and I have 2 kids in the foreground of a shot and 1 kid in the background of a shot. And we sort of do the first take, and the 2 kids in the foreground of the shot are talking or bickering. They have a scene, and I have the kid in the background of the shot, and the kid in the background of the shot is just standing there. And I say, "Cut, all right, let's set up, let's go again." And I go to the 2 kids in the foreground, I go, "Great job, let's do it again." And I walk up to the kid in the background and I say, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, you're in this shot. We can see you, it looks like you're just standing back here." And the kid said, "Well, yeah, I don't have any lines." And man, I gotta tell you, Jared, I'm getting like a little teary-eyed even telling this story, because it was like time stood still. It was like a crazy moment. And I said, "You're just as important in the scene as these people in the foreground. You have to listen to them and react." And I could tell this. I could play this scene off of your face, maybe, like you. I need you to listen. It's very important. And I saw a light bulb go off in their head, and it was a really emotional moment.
It's a beautiful story, and it's also worth pointing out that we take Rob Reiner for his full career now, but these were early days for him too as a director. I just want to end by asking something. Maybe I should have asked at the beginning, but I want to play a little clip from the film, and then ask you on the other side how you saw this young boy, especially now that how you see him 40 years later. But here's a scene where the boys take a pause in their journey and camp out for the night.
Hey Bruno, where's the radio? Let's see if we can get some sounds. Here.
We talked into the night. The kind of talk that seemed important until you discover girls.
All right. Mickey's a mouse, Donald's a duck, Pluto's a dog. What's Goofy? If I can only have one food for the rest of my life, that's easy. Pez. Cherry flavored Pez. No question about it.
Talk about everything, all the emotions that run back. Who is that little boy as you now see as you played him?
We were really ourselves, It's I'm really that same person. I wish I could tell you I'm so different now. I've traveled so far. I really didn't have a knowledge of filmmaking then, but I do now. And you have a script and you have a scene and you do things, and it's so funny. Rob Reiner, during that montage, just had us. He was throwing lines at us, and he and his partner, Andy Scheinman, who was a writer, they had all come from sitcoms. So they were much like sitcom writers throwing lines at us. Okay, hey, say this about cherry flavored Pez. Say this about Goofy. Say this about Sputnik, the satellite. Say this about Annette Funicello. They were coming up with jokes. They were joke writers because he had come from a sitcom. And but they weren't making a sitcom. They were making an adventure movie. So I just think it was just all those things coming together. And it's funny. I really try to, when I'm on a set now, is much like that, have that sort of like loose adding lines because they become something that they play on public radio 40 years later. You just never know, you know?
Well, I look forward to the next one, the next 40-year look back with you, if we both make it.
I'm making it. I'm in LA, man. I'm making it. I have those longevity. I'm watching all those longevity docs. I'm going to be there.
All right. Well, Jerry O'Connell, thank you so much. What a pleasure to speak with you today.
Jared, you as well. Hope to see you out there. Love all public radio. Please give what you can. I'm a big supporter.
Well, we definitely appreciate that support. Again, thank you so much. Stand By Me, the film and its stars, 40 years later, takes place at Lynn Memorial Auditorium on Saturday, December 6th. Jerry O'Connell will be joined by his co-stars, Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman, for a conversation following a screening of the film. For tickets and more information, visit standbymelive.com. Coming up, Joyce Cole-Haywick is here for Stage and Screen Time with her roundup of the latest plays and movies to see right now, from a Tony Award-winning musical to a Wicked sequel. She's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Everyone's got an opinion on everything these days. So call in and tell us yours.
Here's another person who says, I'm a messy person by nature, but your studio is disgusting.
It's not disgusting. First of all, it's not.
Please clean it for your amazing guests. We did clean it for our amazing guests. This is better than it was.
Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. Weekdays 11 to 2, only on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, honoring Boston's own artist Alan Roan Crite and the neighborhoods he depicted in concurrent exhibitions with the Boston Athenaeum. On view through January 19th. More at gardnermuseum.org.
And Commonwealth Shakespeare Company. From the heart of Boston to the heart of your holidays, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol returns to the Emerson Cutler Majestic Theater December 6th through 23rd. Ticket information at comshakes.org/Scrooge25. And the Paul Winter Consort, presenting their Winter Solstice Celebration, featuring vocalist Teresa Thomason, December 6th at 7:30 at the Great Hall in Needham. More at solsticeconcert.com.
GBH is your home for quality local news and conversations that matter to you. Listener support is essential to providing the critical resources needed to cover the issues of the day with accuracy and accountability. Pitch in online at gbhnews.org.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. It's time for Stage and Screen with Joyce Cole-Haywick. 'Tis the season for a lot of can't-miss entertainment between holiday fair and the ramp-up to Oscar season. And Joyce has been partaking in all the premieres. She's here with a roundup from the naughty, revenge-fueled holiday mayhem of the Gold Dust Orphans' Sweeney Claus, a candy cane camp riff on Sondheim's Sweeney Todd, to the sweeping big-screen earnestness of Wicked for Good, where friendship, power, and the label of wickedness are all up for debate. Joyce Cole-Haywick is a Culture Show contributor, an Emmy Award-winning arts and entertainment reporter, and president of the Boston Theater Critics Association. You can find her reviews on joyceschoices.com. Welcome back.
Yeehaw! I'm always so happy to be here to talk about everything that's going on. And as you can see, and just in time to be on YouTube.
Yeah, we start streaming for the people. I will describe this as a friend of mine who had a horrible fall and wrecked part of her face said, I look like a Matisse painting. That's a little bit like what you look like right now.
Well, you know, somebody took exception to one of my reviews, so there you go. Fell off a pair of high heels is, basically what happened. But I'm ready to go.
Well, that is good. I'm glad it did not impair any of your being out at the theater.
But I thought, good, radio. They'll never see it. Hello.
All right, well, let's start with Harry Potter. This is the long-anticipated Boston arrival of this play. This takes us about 19 years after the books and, of course, then the adaptation of the films, where they left off with Harry as a little boy. He's now kind of a bureaucrat, having to deal with his son and not loving life necessarily at the Ministry of Magic.
Exactly. This is next-gen Harry Potter. It focuses on Harry's son and Draco Malfoy's son. So it is, Albus and Scorpius, two misfits who are laboring under the outsized personas and complex legacies of their parents. So it's a coming-of-age story. And I sort of describe this like, to paraphrase Dickens, it's sort of the best of times and the worst of times, all right? The best of times part is that this is stagecraft approaching witchcraft. I have never seen supernatural effects like this on stage. I mean, we have people changing into other characters. We have people disappearing through coin slots. We have a time travel sequence that occurs many times where the earth feels like it's moving.
Isn't it dazzling? I just have to pause for a second to say that I saw this on Broadway years ago, and I couldn't figure it out then. I've had years to think about it. When I saw it again here in Boston, I thought I know exactly what to look for. I know when to look for it. Yeah. Still can't figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's partly audio. I mean, the rumble.
That's right.
And then they do something with lighting where it looks like the set is actually rippling, and then all the clocks start flying around. I mean, it's pretty amazing, I have to say. All right, so that's the best of times. The worst of times is really this over-plotted thing that relationships, their families, all the details, even sort of like other, fringy characters like Bellatrix Lestrange and Moaning Myrtle, et cetera, et cetera. Luckily, I went with my daughter, now adult daughter, who reminded me of so many things. And we read every word of every volume aloud to her as a child. But it really doesn't dwell too much on the emotional ramifications of these coming-of-age themes. So none of it really lands. It's hard to catch. It's hard to keep up. The plot is so dense, and then they wrap it up in a really kind of stunted way. But the effects are remarkably dazzling.
And I'll just say, I haven't seen everything that you're going to talk about, but the counterpoint that I have is that I wondered about that, what it would be like to be so distanced from the story at this point. And I felt like just enough sat there that when characters reemerged, even though I didn't necessarily know who they were, that the feeling came back. And I really enjoyed being in these spaces that were normally filled either in our heads when we read the books or were read to as children, or as we had imagined for us by the films, but to see them in real life makes it something entirely different, and to see these characters.
Oh, maybe you have a much more vivid imagination than I do. And I think this thing so desperately wanted to be a musical and then wasn't. And it is
that's interesting.
So long. It is almost 3 hours.
No,
so,
I didn't feel like it flew that bad.
It's pretty dense.
Or stayed behind.
Yeah.
So again, that's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's on through December 20th at the Emerson Colonial Theater. Let's move to a piece I've seen before, but not here. It's playing at the Huntington. This is Fun Home, the musical inspired by the graphic novel, which is Alison Bechdel's story.
Exactly. You have got to see this production at the Huntington. I've seen it many times before, always liked the show. This was astonishing in every way. It really achieves the full range and depth of its power and humanity. It's about Alison Bechdel trying to make sense of her complicated life, author and graphic novelist, about growing up in their fun home, which is short for funeral home. So talk about a great working metaphor for buried family secrets, right? And then there's funny things where the kids are playing in coffins trying to make a commercial for their fun home. But this is the way Bechdel, the adult character who acts as narrator in the story, describes the plot. Quote, "My father was gay, I'm gay, he killed himself, and I grew up to be a lesbian cartoonist." Okay?
There you have it at the beginning.
So there it is. You get that right away. And it's, dark humor. It gets a big laugh, but also suggests the complexity underneath the story.
Well, that's what I love about this musical is that we find three Allisons in this, again, from Alison Bechtel, the graphic novelist. And her as a very young girl looking at her life through, can you imagine going back and looking at your parents from that age, that perspective, and then as a teenager and then as adults, reconciling her life?
It's so confusing when you're trying to make sense of this stuff as a kid. And I will say that the entire cast is superb. All the actresses who play Allison, Sarah Bachl, who plays the adult, Maya Jacobson, who plays the college age coming out, hilariously ambivalent about her own sexuality. But the standout here is the childhood Alison Bechdel, who is astonishing. I have never seen anybody that age, or maybe even older, who was so utterly alive on stage, who so full on embraced a character and delivered a song with extraordinary talent at her disposal to convey what she was experiencing. She stopped the show more than once. I don't know what planet this kid is from. Lila Randall is her name, or where she got all this, but I think she's like 13 years old. She's extraordinary. The whole ensemble, Jen Ellis, we've seen her in a million things. She plays the mother. She's never been better. Nick Duckert, or Ducart, I don't know how to pronounce that, plays the father. He's angry, he's creative, he's repressed. It's a very specific odyssey for Alison Bechdel coming into herself as a gay woman, wanting to be seen and heard and accepted clearly by herself and the world, but also a universal story about anybody who embraces this odyssey and wants to be seen and heard for whoever we all may be. I mean, it's a beautiful story.
And how we're all made to be.
Exactly.
Fun Home is on view, is playing at the Huntington Theater.
And beautiful sets.
As always, the Huntington is known for that. At the Huntington Theater through December 14th. So let's move into some holiday fare now. We'll start with a Sherlock Carol that is playing at the Lyric Stage Company of Boston through December 21st. A Sherlock Carol. We're meeting two different stories here.
You got it. It's Doyle and Dickens. All right. So this is a mashup, and it has the best of both. It's a mystery, and it also has the sweetness of the season about it in this ghostly fable. It's a very witty script by Mark Shanahan, wonderfully well directed by Elise Robbins, and stars a beloved cast of Boston veterans led by Paul Melendi, comic genius and also superb dramatic actor, and he needs both here. And so the premise is that we come upon Sherlock Holmes in the middle of an existential crisis. His partner Moriarty has died, so his modus operandi has been ripped from him, and he no longer feels like solving mysteries, and he ends up being kind of like the Scrooge and the Grump. Even when Tiny Tim, now grown up, comes to him and asks him to solve the mystery of Ebenezer Scrooge's murder on Christmas morning.
Ooh.
And he doesn't even care. He doesn't want to do it. But eventually, the cast, amazing. Christopher Chu as Scrooge, Lee Barrett in, multiple roles. All these characters are playing multiple roles. Mark Linehan, John Vellante, Michelle Moran. Terrific sets and costumes, just the right tone, keeps you going. It's a wonderful show at the Lyric.
And it sounds like it's madcap, too, some of it.
A little madcap.
And again, so that's Sherlock Carol at the Lyric Stage Company through December 21st. Now we move to however much we can talk about Sweeney Claus, the demon father of Sleet Street. This is by the Gold Dust Orphans. We've talked about them in the past. For people who don't know, it's all at least R-rated. So this is for mature audiences. This is Ryan Landry's long-running Gold Dust Orphans, a theatrical troupe which likes to take us to the edge and beyond. How is this year's holiday show?
Oh, it's fantastic. Maybe bawdier than usual.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's saying a lot.
Oh, yeah, it really is. They push every envelope. But it is still incredibly funny. And as Ryan always does, brings us back to to this something sweet at the end. He had us all on our feet, holding hands and singing A Christmas Carol. This after the full frontal nudity, all the body jokes, the potty humor, the all of it. So we've got this crazy mashup. The show is set in Scituate. It involves Sweeney's serial-killing barber, played by this wonderful newcomer named Thane Burton. Mary Mahoney plays the ingenue reindeer, Johanna. She's hilarious. These two have incredible voices, but then everybody opens their mouth on that stage, can really sing. T. Perry plays a sailor named Seaman. Every pun intended. Big guy, big voice, Tim Lawton is the perverted Santa Claus who has an unsavory relationship with his reindeer. Landry,
Again, leave the kids at home.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't let them anywhere near this production. Ryan Landry plays the bloody meat pie maker, Mrs. Leavitt. I wish that they had gone further and made her Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. If only. This plot...
Well, I was going to say we should mention that this is not imported from anywhere else except for Ryan Landry's own brain. So he's writing all of this, and it would be probably impossible to keep up with everything that's happening in this moment to then transfer it onto the stage.
Yeah, and an unruly brain and imagination it is. I mean, because Donatella Versace is involved here, played by Scott Martino, who also does all the costumes and is hilarious. There's a beetle named Ringo, of course. It's pretty extraordinarily fun. It has video montages. It's got the singing Scituate sisters, the Dickens dancers, and of course, the traditional puppet cameos by Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan.
That's right. My colleagues right down the hall are part of the show now.
I mean, it's hard to know where to look first, and it's all directed by Kiki Samko, who's amazing. He keeps the whole thing going. She's extraordinary. So see it, but yes, do not bring the children. They'll be scarred for life.
And if you've never seen it before, you are in for a treat because this group has been at it for a long time and are so inventive every year. Sweeney Claus, the demon father of Sleet Street, is playing through December 21st. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Joyce Kulhaywick, the queen of entertainment in Boston, and you can find all of her reviews and appearances, everything at joyceschoices.com. She's also president of the Boston Theater Critics Association. But let's move to another one of your roles, film. This is the really exciting season when we begin to see all of the Oscar contenders. I know people love to fill their time over the holidays getting prepared for the Oscar nominations, which are coming in January. Let's start with something that is getting rave reviews, and that's Hamnet.
Yeah, Hamnet is absolutely one of the best movies of the year. Hamnet is the name of William Shakespeare's son, who died at age 11 in 1596, and not much is known about him. Apparently, in 1596, the name Hamnet and Hamlet were interchangeable, whether that's, the foibles of transcription or the fluidity of the language, I don't know. But the movie centers the death of Hamnet as the motivating force behind Shakespeare writing Hamlet. And the movie strikes this almost mystical, dreamy, otherworldly tone, which I think outlines the landscape that you're about to inhabit in the movie.
Well, before you continue, let's take a little listen to this. Here's a bit from the trailer of Hamnet, directed by Chloe Zhao and starring Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal.
He's got more inside of him than any man I've ever met.
Who are you looking for?
William Shakespeare.
What do you wish to do, Hamlet?
I shall be one of Father's players.
Will you be brave?
Yes. Mama!
My boy.
He lives not. You should go to London. That place in your head is now more real to you than anywhere else.
I am myself indifferent on it. Again!
Do you not wonder what is in it?
In what?
The play.
Head-to-toe goosebumps. I interrupted you just as you were saying it takes us in, but this is also taking us into grief because, as you mentioned, he lost his son, but then how does this begin to wind its way into Shakespeare's works?
Well, it really occupies this space between visceral, earthly life, death, and then art, which one can view as a link between these worlds. Jessie Buckley is extraordinary. Let me just say, Paul Mescal and Buckley together are phenomenal. It's Buckley, though, who's taking center stage here. Her grief over her son emerges almost like a primal scream. She's already being talked about as Oscar winner for Best Actress this coming season, and it's no surprise that Buckley and this female point of view is occupying center stage here. Zhao has done this before. She did Women Talking, The Lost Daughter. Zhao is the only woman who has Nomadland, only woman of color to win Best Director Oscar and one of 3 women to win Best Director. But the film builds to this very anguished climax and then goes past that in the final scene to link all of these themes together. Hamlet's death, Agnes's grief, and Shakespeare's latest creation on stage, Hamlet. And we hear that most famous of all soliloquies as if we're hearing this for the first time, contemplating, life, death, the absurdity and randomness and mystery and the transcendence that we can experience, knowing that we all share this experience and we can experience that at the theater. This is a scene that produces, tears running down your cheeks. It's pretty remarkable, and it's something I've not seen in a movie before, a scene quite like that links all of these things. And this is a total fiction. I mean, we don't know.
It's all based on Maggie O'Farrell's book, Hamnet, a novel of the plague, which was released in 2020, and this adaptation has finally come our way. Well, we'll make a pretty sizable switch from that, those notions in Hamnet to, let's play the trailer from Wicked for Good.
The Wicked Witch can't elude us forever. Not with Prince Fiero and his squadron hot on her trail.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz. No one believed in you more than I did.
Elphaba. They're coming for you.
So, of course, if you've been keeping score at home, this is the second half of the Wicked story, at least the Wicked musical story based on Gregory Maguire's novel. By the way, he'll be on the show tomorrow.
Oh, I love Gregory.
He's fantastic. Yeah. Yes, I know you know. You were with him not too long ago, honoring him too. But this is the second half of the musical, so this takes us into Elphaba being distanced from Oz and takes us into the origin stories of the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and what happens to Glinda after Elphaba is dispatched from Oz.
And I have to say, listen to me. I liked this. It's been trashed in many, many,
I liked it too. I just saw it this weekend.
Outlets. You did see it.
I did.
Yeah. It held me. I'm glad this was 2 parts. The director, John Chu, did an amazing job to me of fleshing out the darker half. I mean, the first half is all light and fun, and it's very cluttered. And Jonathan Bailey, seemed almost kind of goofy. Well, there's some real romance and sexiness here. There's the darkness that they have to explore. You understand what separates these 2 women, Glinda and Elphaba, but also what kind of links them together and how neither one of them is all good or all bad. That's complicated.
It is complicated, and I thought very well done in that regard.
Extremely. And they also do a good job of backgrounding what was in the foreground, which is the original Wizard of Oz. So we see this played out almost like shadow puppets, but that recedes and we see the background story come to the fore, which is, what animates the good witch and the bad witch and what happens to them. And while part 1 has that incredible, song, Defying Gravity, part 2 has For Good, which I couldn't get out of my head. This duet between these 2 miraculous singers is extraordinary. I mean, beyond extraordinary. I don't even have words for the sound of their voices separately and together in duet. And I think it echoes actually the real kinship that they share off screen.
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And if anybody ever thought it was manufactured, when that terrible incident happened not too long ago where that man rushed up and pushed Ariana Grande and you saw Cynthia Erivo spin around, those are that's friendship right there. And so that chemistry, I thought about that a lot actually when I was watching the film and realizing how real the chemistry was. Of course it can be manufactured, they're great actors, but in this case there's more to it.
Palpable. No, I thought this absolutely worked. I liked it better than part 1, which, was a little bit much for me in some way, but it was enjoyable. It was entertaining. No, he pulled it off.
Well, I am with you on this one. We differed on Harry Potter, but I'm with you on this one. Joyce, always great to see you. I know we'll have you back again very soon because, again, this is when all the great Oscar movies are rolling out, and we're starting off with a bang with Hamnet, as you pointed out. Thank you so much for being here.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Culture Show contributor Joyce Kulhaywick joins us regularly. She's an Emmy Award-winning arts and entertainment reporter, president of the Boston Theater Critics Association, and you can find her reviews on joyceschoices.com. Coming up, we're going Bach to the future with a preview of a holiday concert hosted by CRB's Brian McCreath. He joins me next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
As cities grow, they often run into problems like pollution and lack of infrastructure, but city planners in Shenzhen, China, hired architects to address those things before they even happened.
They encourage the clients to have the courage to confront the future and ask questions how things could be done differently.
Hear that story next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And American Repertory Theater with Wonder, a new musical for the whole family based on the best-selling book and beloved movie. This holiday season, Wonder celebrates the power of kindness. amrep.org.
Support for GBH comes from you and the Sun Magazine Group.
We try to approach real estate not just in a cookie-cutter way.
Bernadine Sun Magazine, Realtor and Senior VP at Compass.
GBH gives us an opportunity that is unique. One of the things that GBH allows us to do as sponsors is to sponsor individual events. And I will tell you that the number of people that I've connected with in the community has been astounding.
To learn more, visit gbh.org/sponsorship.
Your neighborhood, your stories, your news. GBH News 89.7, gbhnews.org, and streaming on the GBH app. Trusted local news.
I'm Jared Bowen, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. You're listening to The Culture Show, and we're listening to Part 5 of Johann Sebastian Bach's Christmas Oratorio. It's one of the pieces performed tomorrow night in the program Illuminate Bach, a holiday celebration, the first in a new GBH music concert series recorded live in GBH's Fraser Performance Studio. The evening brings together sacred and secular works by Bach, performed by Emmanuel Music under artistic director Ryan Turner. For more than 50 years, the ensemble has built a deep and ongoing relationship with Bach's music, performing his cantatas weekly and exploring how the centuries-old repertoire, written for the Christmas season, continues to feel vital and alive. Hosting the concert is CRB's Brian McCreath, the director of production for GBH Music, and host of the Bach Hour on CRB Classical 99.5. He joins us for the ultimate preview. Brian McCreath, great to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jared. How you doing?
Well, you're going to walk us through a lot of this, but let's just start to talk about what will we experience in this show and how does this thread us back to the 1700s?
Oh, gosh. Well, what we're going to experience in this show has a lot to do with bringing light into darkness, because we are now approaching the darkest days of the year, right? Everybody's feeling it. But this music is designed, it's embedded within the concept of bringing light into people's lives at this darkest time. And so the idea is to bring Emmanuel Music to our studio and ask them to offer that illumination through music that is intended for that purpose, right? Mostly by Bach, but also a piece by Rina Esmail, which is really, really beautiful, an American Indian composer. And so that's the idea, is to just allow our audience, both in the studio and then later on TV and online, to experience this illuminating music.
Well, before again, you take us through this piece by piece, as it were, what was Bach's intent here? Of course, as you mentioned, it was to illuminate, but as he's writing these many pieces, what was the environment of the time? What was he hoping to elicit?
Well, the thing about Bach is that he was writing in his time in Leipzig. He was writing a cantata for every major feast day on the calendar and every Sunday on the calendar. And they were very, very specific to those days and the readings that people would hear in their churches during the day. And so during the season of Advent, in Bach's time, it was a penitential time, actually, when people were meditating and really there was no concerted music, as it's called, in the church. So one of the things that Bach did with the Christmas Oratorio was to open it with a complete splash, right? So the Christmas Oratorio is actually 6 separate cantatas that are meant to be spaced out through the 12 days of Christmas, as the Christmas season is formally known. And that first day, Christmas morning, is meant to be really splashy, really joyous, really loud. And so the cantatas that took over after that, on the second day of Christmas, you hear more about what the story is. The shepherds in the countryside are addressed by the angels, and you sort of imagine the peaceful Jesus in the manger. The third day of Christmas, the shepherds actually come and they visit Jesus in the manger, and you hear some of Mary's inner feelings about what all these things have been that have transpired. Then we get into the New Year's Day cantata, which is the naming of Jesus, and the piece that's going to be performed with us is part 5. We just heard a little bit of the beginning of it, and that's when the 3 wise men arrive, or they're on their way. And what you hear about is, and this is where the darkness versus light really enters the scene. The 5th part of the Christmas Oratorio is meant to be about the light and the dark, because as the 3 wise men are approaching, you also hear about Herod's fear of Jesus and his call to kill all the newborn babies in Bethlehem. And so there's a deep, deep fear that you hear within the piece, but also then the response to it is the 3 wise men bringing light. Then the 6th part, just to round out the whole Christmas Oratorio, is the 3 wise men do in fact visit, and there's a beginning of a believer's sort of connection to what these events mean for them. And then there's the fun story about how the 3 wise men evade and take a different route back. Anyway, it encompasses the entire Christmas story over the course of those 6 cantatas over 12 days in Bach's time that would have come, again, after that penitential, very quiet period.
And he wrote this all within a year.
Oh, God, yeah, no. These pieces, one of the things about Bach cantatas is that he reused a lot of music, and there's a lot in the 6 cantatas of the Christmas Oratorio that are actually drawn from earlier secular cantatas that he wrote. So, yes, he did write them within a year, but he was writing constantly. It was just a never-ending churn of cantatas that he wrote. There was a period of about, well, we have 3 years, and there was probably another 2 years after that for which cantatas are largely lost. A period of about 5 years when it was literally every week a new cantata.
That is extraordinary. If people are just tuning in or about to hear this music, I'm speaking with Brian McCreath, Director of Production at GBH Music, host of the Bach Hour on CRB Classical 99.5 and the Bach Channel Stream. We're talking about Illuminate Bach, a holiday celebration. We'll give you the how-to about where and all the myriad ways you can experience this after the concert. But you have assembled some music for us. I'll hand the baton to you now to direct us through what we should be listening for.
Sure, and as we do that, I also keep in mind that Emmanuel Music isn't just performing here with us in this program. They're actually doing the entire Christmas Oratorio on December 13th and 14th at Emmanuel Church. We can get back to that in a minute, but it's worth pointing out that we are doing part 5 in this program, but the entire cantata is being done at Emmanuel Church with a full chorus and full orchestra. In what's happening here in Fraser, in our Fraser Performance Studio, it's a scaled down version of this cantata number 5, meaning that there's only one singer per part. And that's kind of an interesting thing because we often think of this piece as a big choral masterpiece, but in this case, it's going to be one singer on a part. you might say, oh gosh, that's just for economizing, but there's actually a lot of scholarship that goes into that. There are those musicologists who have done the research and found, yeah, this is actually one of the ways that Bach could have been performing these pieces. So it's not that far out of left field to consider one person on a part in a very small ensemble. And in fact, that's the kind of recording that I managed to get a hold of for what we're going to talk about now. It's a group called the Dunedin Consort from Scotland, and they have recorded this piece with one person on a part. So we just heard at the opening of this segment the introduction to part 5. It's this really energetic, exuberant piece. And let's actually just pick up that exact movement now with some of the choral words that follow that introduction. So this is just purely celebratory. This is just like Jesus has been born and these shepherds have come, the angels have sung, and we're just feeling exuberant. This is a wonderful thing. But then as we kind of transition to hear about the three wise men on their way, the three wise men ask, where is this newborn person that we're supposed to see? Let's hear a little bit of that now. So wo is the German word for where. And the alto soloist then sings, look for him inside yourself. So this is the message to the believer. There's a story going on here that we're seeing the narrative, we're seeing the action happen. The three wise men are on their way, but there's also a meaning that Bach is trying to express to a believer. Don't just look for a person, look for the presence of this person in your own self. Then after this, there's a beautiful chorale that literally is the words embody what this cantata is about. So let's just hear a little bit of the chorale that happens next. Your radiance destroys all darkness. The troubled night is transfigured with light. So this is, chorales are a huge part of Bach cantatas. They're sort of the grounding. They're sort of like the almost the cornerstones where everybody can sing them in church and you can feel it's not complicated music. It's just really solid music that people can grasp onto. Later in the cantata is what I think is the really most fascinating part of it, because as I mentioned before, Herod has sent out this order to kill all the babies, right? So Mary and Joseph are very nervous about this. They're very anxious, and you can hear that anxiety in what turns out to be a trio, but you hear two singers first. Let's hear the beginning of this aria. So they're singing, when will the time appear? When will the comfort of the faithful come? You hear a third singer enter, schweigt. And they say it over and over again because what they're saying is, hush, he's already here. And it's this insistence to say, relax. I know you're anxious. I know that darkness is terrifying, but he's already here. And so it's this really fascinating little moment where one singer is in this role opposing the others. There's various interpretations of what that trio really means. One interpretation is that the two duet singers who are anxious are just sort of anonymous believers, people like you and me. And then that third voice saying schweigt or hush is Mary herself. Another interpretation is that those two singers are Mary and Joseph, and it's Jesus saying, hush, I'm here. I made it.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
Until it isn't. But it all occurs to me, what are Bach's intentions here in terms of dissemination and how far and wide and where the audiences would be? And because obviously there's a very specific religious intent here.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating question, Jared, because Bach had no sense of dissemination at all. I mean, Bach had a very strong sense of his legacy through the ages. I mean, this is something as he got older in his life. And this particular piece is coming about 15 years before he died. But his sense of dissemination is really like, get this done in church on Sunday. He had a congregation, actually had two congregations, three if you sort of count the university church. He was responsible for all the music in the churches in Leipzig. And so his job was to just get this music onto the choral balcony, to be sung during services very specific to the time and date that they were meant to happen. in terms of like a wider audience, he just didn't have that sense. I mean, he only barely had started to actually publish music by the time this was written. And that was all keyboard music. I mean, he was much more concerned with being known as an organ maestro and as a keyboard specialist than he was as a cantata writer at this particular point. The cantata work was very much his own personal mission, his mission of faith. And it was only later generations that took this music up and wanted to spread it more widely. And now, as you may know, but for all who are encountering this music for the first time, Christmas oratorio is really, to European countries and cultures, what Messiah is to us. A lot of times you hear that in Europe, people wonder, why are we doing Messiah? That's about Easter, did you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And Christmas oratorio is all about Christmas itself. And so it has that place, the traditions that we think of with Messiah. If you were to go to Germany or even to France or Britain, a lot of times it would be Christmas oratorio that people would be putting into their lives.
Well, then I enjoy this collaboration in Boston where the Handel's Messiah, Handel and Haydn Society, it just ended this weekend, and now we can transition to the European
And no better group to
interpretation.
take this on than Emmanuel Music in their complete performances of Christmas oratorio, which, by the way, I should mention, what Emmanuel Music has done is to make this pay what you will. I mean, you'll go to their site and you'll see ticket prices, but this is really about paying what you will. So it's a great opportunity to experience one of these really great seasonal masterpieces.
I love that we're leaving on the pay what you will note. Brian McCreath, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Brian is Director of Production at GBH Music, host of the Bach Hour on CRB Classical 99.5 and the Bach Channel stream. Of course, he's also the host of CRB's Boston Symphony Orchestra broadcast. Illuminate Bach, a holiday celebration, is sold out, but there are many other ways you can experience. Go to classical.org to find out where you can stream, see it on television, hear it. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
GBH's All Things Considered is coming up this afternoon at 4, with Marketplace at 6:30. But first, get a global view of the news with The World. Up next, here on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Cleary Insurance. For over 35 years, Cleary Insurance has been serving businesses and individuals in Greater Boston, offering advice and coverage from carriers like Arbella to help people lead safe and secure lives. More at clearyinsurance.com.
Anytime you're looking for a snapshot of history, a window into the past, or the perfect partner in crime, GBH has you covered. Find all your favorite GBH shows streaming now on the PBS app.
I'm Arun Roth. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, Senator Ed Markey is pushing legislation to regulate artificial intelligence. The state is launching a new office dedicated to behavioral health. And today on The Extra Point, our check-in on New England sports, Esteban Bustillos breaks down the World Cup final draw and why Haiti's return has local soccer fans buzzing. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston.